Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most jaw-dropping moments in FNAF fan game history. From unbelievable twists to unforgettable scares and scenes that completely caught players off guard, these games are packed with moments that nobody saw coming. Some of these are still talked about years later, so let's get into it. I want you to think about the last time you've played a FNAF fan game that has introduced a mechanic you've never seen before. Maybe you think of Junior's deduction game mechanic. Maybe you think of Teelerland's upgrade system. Or maybe you dig really deep and think of One Night at Flumpty's 3 moving camera buttons. Whatever it may be, I'm sure you can agree that seeing a new mechanic is always interesting, and in my opinion is the most enjoyable part of playing FNAF games. I love exploring what people can come up with. Even if the new mechanics are frustrating, I still love them. The game we'll be covering today introduces a mechanic like nothing I've ever seen before. A game so obscure I'd never heard of it, and I'm willing to bet you've never heard of it either. The game we'll be covering today is After Hours at Cody's, a so far one-off FNAF fan game that introduces one of the most interesting game mechanics I've ever seen, while also telling one of the most gruesome and depraved stories I've ever witnessed. You're not going to want to miss what we have in store today, so let's dive into the world of After Hours at Cody's. Before each night, we get a small cutscene to show us a little bit of what we're getting into. In the Night 1 cutscene, we see a mysterious black figure cause one of the animatronics to awaken. And I'm not gonna lie, the animatronic that wakes up is a bit of a bad bitch, I'm not gonna lie to you. But with that, we do start Night 1. Night 1 obviously introduces one threat. But before we can start talking about that threat, we need to talk about the mechanic in this game that makes it so unique: the cameras. Taking a look at them, you'll notice that there's a long bar in the center of the map with one small section of it being red and a small rectangle quickly moving back and forth across it. If you haven't figured out what these cameras are about to do yet, then let me tell you. When you switch cameras, you will need to time the camera switch up with when the small moving rectangle is inside of the red bar. If you mistime it, then the camera you clicked on will load very slowly. And this is a very fast-paced game. If you time it properly, the camera will load almost instantly. This is such an interesting mechanic that I originally thought I was going to hate. But it's because of this mechanic that I've actually put After Hours at Cody's in my top 5 favorite FNAF fan games of all time. But the timing doesn't only relate to how fast your cameras load. If that was all it did, then this mechanic would be pretty lackluster overall. It also plays a much more integral role with a core mechanic of the game: the power. Your power drains pretty quickly in this game. However, there is a way to recharge it. And unlike in most FNAF games where you can recharge power, it's surprisingly not done by holding down a fucking button like a music box. Thank dick. This time around, it's also tied to the timing mechanic in the cameras. Every time you properly time a camera switch, a small battery multiplier will increase by 1 at the bottom of the camera. The higher that multiplier is, the more power will increase, with a maximum multiplier of 30. However, if you don't properly time a switch fast enough, then the multiplier will start to quickly decrease. So constantly switching cameras is a must. I think this is easily one of the most unique mechanics I've ever seen. It adds a level of skill that most other FNAF games just don't have. Most FNAF games' skill ceilings are marked by your reflexes. This one is marked by your rhythm, and I think that's awesome. But anyways, onto the threat this night introduces: Bad Bitch Bella. Or as this game calls her, Bella the Beaver. I think my name is a little bit better though, personally. Bad Bitch Bella has a very simple motive: walk to your office, put a collar on you, and walk you like a dog. You guys can feel free to defend yourself from her, which I will explain how to do in a moment, but I for one will already be on my hands and knees by the time she enters the office. She will try to enter your office through camera 5 or your right door. In camera 5, she'll have 2 stages. One where she's far away from the camera, and another where she's much closer. Once she moves to her second phase, you will have to use your camera's alarm system, which, lucky us, is also tied to the timing mechanic. When you press the alarm button, if you don't time it with the red bar, the audio will not play and you'll have to wait for your alarm to charge back up. When you use the alarm on Bad Bitch Bella, she will look at the camera. When she does, all you have to do is close your door. and eventually she will go back to the stage. If you don't use the alarm on her, she will pound on your door and drain a lot of power before leaving, and then Operation Walk You Like a Dog will be set in motion. Very easy character to explain two very important mechanics in this game. I think After Hours at Cody's Night 1 is a great example of properly introducing your game's core mechanics in a way that isn't confusing or overwhelming. Plus, you made the character really hot for no reason at all. This is a children's establishment. Why are the characters hot? That's something I'll never be able to wrap my head around. Now, how do we actually complete the night? Surviving until 6 a.m., Dxtr? You fucking retard? Whoa. Hey now. The people in my comments don't like it when you say that word. Do better, retard. Anyways, no. Surviving until 6 a.m. is not how you complete a night in this game. After Hours at Cody's opts to use a task-based completion system. Now everyone hold your breath, because this could either make or break this game depending on how shitty the tasks are. You can exhale. It's okay. The task is mundane. However, it plays into the game's core mechanic, so it actually makes for a very satisfying gameplay loop. Remember that black figure that brought the bad bitch back to life? Well, that character is known in this game as the Anomaly. And judging by that name alone, I'm willing to bet you can guess what this guy is going to do and what the task system in this game is. The Anomaly has a random chance to appear on any of the cameras in your game at any time. If at any point you find him, you will have to use your alarm on the camera that he's on. When you do, your Anomaly counter will go up. After you find him 10 times, the night will be over. You do have to note that he will not always be on a camera, and if you don't find him fast enough when he appears, he will not stay on a camera forever and will eventually leave. Again, overall this mechanic is pretty boring, but because of how well it ties into the timing mechanic, it serves as one of the most enjoyable FNAF experiences I've ever had. But now on to night 2, except I lied because we actually have a cutscene to talk about first.
My dear friends, the worst has come to pass. As many of you may already know, my brother, Darren, has not been found since his disappearance earlier this year. He meant the world to me, as I'm sure he did to plenty of you too. His astounding creativity and infallible craftsmanship became the source of so many wonderful memories for children all across the country. These moments we shared will remain evergreen to me for as long as I live. Before I continue though, I'd like to show you this. A child at Cody's gave this to me once when I was visiting the restaurant. Wonderful, isn't it? This creativity we inspire. As it pains me to say, I do understand the suspicion people may have had toward me in the months following my brother's disappearance. But please, I urge you all to understand how these events have weighed heavy on me. He was my family too. The threats I've received since then caused me to think about my place in all this. I know I may not have been the most communicative or involved between the two of us, but I still did hold so much love for the work we did together. All this is to say that I will be stepping down as proprietor of Cody & Co. I've had a long and fulfilling career, and I only hope that the kindness I've shown will continue to reflect on the company as I look forward to finding someone new to handle the reins. But until then, I hope only to leave this company in a better state than it currently remains. If my being a part of this only serves to obstruct the joy and wonder that my brother and I wish to impart, then perhaps it is best if I step down and let the magic live on without me. Thank you for everything. I genuinely had a wonderful time.
So, we have two brothers that started this company together, and one of them tragically died. Now, I'm no FNAF expert. Okay, maybe I am a little. I think we're all smart enough to know that the pain in this guy's voice is definitely a little bit sussy. I'm not pointing any fingers here, but if it comes out that his brother is the one who killed him, I would not be surprised in the slightest. Anyways, on to night 2. By the way, if you were curious as to how this game explains the anomaly, well, the phone guy blatantly tells us that we're ghost hunting. Everyone that works in this building knows about this thing and what it can do, and we were more so hired to remove it. If I signed up for a night watch job and got told that, I would walk out of that building before the poor bastard could even hang up. Night 2 introduces one new threat, Morris, who also introduces the last major mechanic this game has to talk about, the curtain behind you. I haven't actually mentioned it so far, but yes, you can turn around in your office to find a curtain. It vaguely reminds me of the curtain from those nights at Rachel's. However, this game isn't mind-numbingly boring like that one is. Morris will slowly creep out from behind the curtains throughout the night. Occasionally, you'll have to turn around and force him back. However, unlike most curtain mechanics like this, it isn't just pulling them closed or holding your light on it. After Hours at Cody's needs to get a little bit quirky. Introducing probably the most frustrating mechanic in the entire game. Next to the curtains, you'll see 4 buttons. Each button has a color. You might be thinking, Dxtr, I'm looking at them and not a single one of them has a color. Well, you see, dear viewer, that's what I thought too. However, no, they do indeed have a color. You just can't see which color each button is until you press it, which I think is very stupid. Morris has 5 phases before jump scaring you. The first phase is the phase you'll mostly see him in. All you'll be able to see is his nose. This is the furthest back that he can be, so if he looks like this, you're all good. The next 4 phases each correspond to one of those buttons. So depending on how close he is to ganking you, you will have to select the correct colored button and then flash your light on him to make him go back to phase 1. What do the buttons mixed with the flashlight have to do with sending him back? I really have no idea. And in all honesty, I think this is easily the weakest part of the entire game. But that's not where my frustration with Morris ends. No, not at all. Believe it or not, turning around in your office can be a frustrating experience for literally no reason whatsoever. How, you might be asking? Well, I'd be more than happy to explain it to you. Let's say you're facing towards your doors. Bad bitch Bella is at your door, so for now, the door is closed. While this door is closed, apparently Beth, the name of our player, gets fucking glued to the goddamn ground and is unable to move an inch. Because if either one of your doors are closed, you will be unable to turn around to check on Morris. How does this make any sense at all? It literally fucking doesn't. And that's not all. It gets even more frustrating. Let's imagine you're facing Morris. You press a button and flash your light to send him back. Now it's time to turn around and start filling up our power in the camera again. But uh-oh, fucker! You forgot to press the button you already fucking pressed. Because if any of the buttons are currently toggled on, you can't turn around. Why? Who the fuck knows? I love this game a lot, but holy shit, this is one of the most retarded things I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense at all. Well, whatever. It's frustrating. It's stupid, but I didn't let it ruin my experience with the rest of this amazing game. Speaking of, let's move on to the post-night 2 cutscene.
Greetings, employee, and welcome to part 3 of the Warren Tech Mascot Training Module. In this chapter, we'll be demonstrating how to safely wear and operate our patented Flex mascot suit. To begin the process, locate the 4 winding ports present on each of the character's limbs. Use your company-issued War Wrench to turn counterclockwise and disengage the mascot's enhanced performance mode. You should notice the eyes glow red from the activation of the light relay. This means that the mascot is ready to be worn. Simply be warned. Do not, by any circumstances, wear the mascot suit while it is still in its enhanced performance mode. Its specialized routines involve the full rotation and contortion of the extremities. Should you be caught in the suit during the performance of one of these routines, do not panic. If you can, tuck your legs and arms into the main torso and lower your head as far as possible.
Repeat the phrase, Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect. Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect.
So it seems we've found After Hours at Cody's spring lock equivalent. And in all honesty, I think it's way more brutal than the spring lock suit could ever be. Imagine being locked inside of that clown suit, only for the arms and legs to start twisting, breaking your bones, ripping your tendons, and contorting your bodies in ways it was never supposed to bend. This is easily one of the most terrifying ideas I've ever seen in a FNAF game before, and I'm all for it. Night 3 introduces one new threat, Jack the Jackal. He acts as this game's Chica, being a borderline exact copy of Bad Bitch Bella, except she's a 10 and he's like a 4 at best on a good day. As I'm sure you could have expected, Jack does the exact same thing as Bella, except he attacks camera 6 and your left door instead of your right. The same system and rules apply to him. He has 2 phases on camera 6. Once he's in his second phase, use the alarm on him and close the door until he leaves. Simple sugar. We've dealt with this before, however, it does add a decent deal of pressure in combination with what we already have. The cooldown for the alarm is relatively slow, and now having 3 consistent problems we need to use it on, it could easily start to get out of hand fast. Not to mention having another door character which could prevent us from turning around to check on Morris. This game can get stressful, but I honestly think that's one of the most enjoyable parts about it.
Clocking out? Okay. Have a good night then. Hey, Lonnie, mind if I talk to you about something?
Oh, of course. I was just about to finish up here. What's on your mind?
So, I've been going over the company's financial statements to help allocate the budget for next year. I noticed that some of our bank capital's been withdrawn and donated to a couple of undisclosed recipients. They've been blocked out. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? Okay. If you don't know anything about it, I'll just go ask Cynthia.
You won't get anything of value out of her. I made those withdrawals.
Alright, that's fine, but let me know next time. Given how much was spent, I don't have enough money left to fund my R&D for the new mascots next year. We need to focus on improving the restaurant before doing anything like this, okay? Anyways, who were the recipients anyway? You're joking, Lonnie. Tell me you're joking.
Quite the opposite, I'm afraid.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And after all that shit about dedicating yourself to the betterment of the company, to promise a business that would never do anything to harm its audience again, you pull this on me?
Look, calm down. I can explain.
No, you can't explain shit. You may put up a face to get them to tolerate you, but I'll be damned if you ever gave a shit about the kids. I'm the one working my ass off out there to cover for your mistakes.
I said calm down! Don't even start with me. Your pitiful self-righteousness is pathetic. Do you not remember the hole I dug you out of? You owe every part of the success to me. I made this company, and I made you! Don't try to push superiority onto me when you're the one who crawled to me, begging for my help all those years ago. What I do with my company's funds is none of your business. Do what is asked of you before I decide you're no longer needed.
Fine, you made your point.
Glad we came to an agreement. Be seeing you.
Whatever.
So, the brother Lonnie, who we heard in the Night 1 cutscene, has been spending company money on something shady. The exact contents have been redacted, but judging from Daryl's reaction, it's not good news. We also have a pretty big argument about money here. And if we're still rolling with my theory that Lonnie had something to do with Daryl's death, money is one of the most common reasons for murder. Again, not necessarily pointing any fingers, Okay, that's a lie. Yes, I am. There's no way in fuck Lonnie isn't the reason Daryl died, but I guess only time will tell. Night 4 introduces the main attraction himself, Cody. Really shitty name, by the way. The only Cody I like is this gay guy who wears a lot of blue and has some yellow ass teeth. Anyways, onto what Cody from the game does. Cody's main goal in this game is to absolutely rail your power supply. There are 2 cameras which have breaker boxes in them. They must be female because Cody really wants to break their boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dig. When he's in either of these cameras, he'll have 2 phases. One where he's just kinda chilling there, and the other where he's having intercourse with said breaker box. When you see him doing his thing with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, use the alarm on his camera to scare him away. If you don't, obviously your power is going to disintegrate like the cells on my testicles when I accidentally place them on the stove. So, here we have yet another character that requires us to use the alarm system. Can you start to see how this game could become stressful? Especially considering that our alarm has a pretty long cooldown time in reference to the amount of characters that require its use. Yeah, it can become a bit much at times, but in all honesty, I never felt like this game was unfair. I never felt like there was even an inkling of RNG. This game is so fun. You guys really need to check it out, or check out my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black.
I'm done.
Just what is the meaning of this?
I can't keep covering your ass. I've just about had it. I've been trying to keep the magic alive for years at this point, but everything you've done has just thrown a wrench in every plan I've had. Every single time I was at the cusp of making something good for our audience, you've pulled the rug out from under my feet. Whatever, I know your heart was never really in it. Hell, we both know that neither of us would be here if it weren't for my mascots.
Do I need to remind you of the last time we've had this conversation?
No, because I've been thinking about what you said. Sure, you helped me out of a dark place, but I'm sure as goddamn hell you only ever did it to leech off my talent, knowing full well you couldn't produce a fraction of what we've accomplished here on your own.
Just get to the point. You're wasting my time.
I've had Cynthia pull our financial statements from the last 2 years. Don't even think about going after her when this is done, because she's made up her mind to leave long ago. I have the contacts of every news outlet in the state, ready to publish the uncensored documents at a moment's notice.
What? Are you dense? Don't you realize that this is gonna spell the interview too?
I do. Besides, however this turns out sure as hell beats trying to steer a ship that's been sinking for years now. So I'm gonna give you 2 options. Walk away now and forsake your every stake in this company, or take the fall with me and lose everything anyway.
You belligerent, unthinking fool! You really haven't changed at all, have you? Still the over-emotional disaster of a child you've been since we were kids. God, it's no wonder Mom and Dad gave up on you so damn easily. You know what? Do your worst. You won't get anything out of me.
Then I guess you made your choice.
God damn it, Doria, get back here! This isn't something you just decide!
I've told you, my name is Daryl. Goodbye, Bonnie.
No, this can't be happening. Why are you making me do this?
Tisk, tisk, tisk. Well. Looky what we have here. Exactly as I suspected. Lonnie killed his brother. Sure, Daryl was gonna bring the entire company to its knees, but to be fair, it was entirely Lonnie's fault. I also want to use this cutscene to bring up a problem I have with some FNAF fan games. Voice acting can really make or break an impactful scene in a game. You really need to be able to get an actor or actress who can really bring that energy that the role needs to tell its story. Lonnie's voice acting is bad, and it really shows in this Night 4 cutscene. From the mumbling, making it hard to understand what he's saying if it wasn't for the subtitles, to the actor not really yelling during a scene where he needs to be yelling, it makes this scene, which is supposed to be impactful and shocking, just feel very awkward and uncomfortable. Not every game needs voice acting either. If you're a dev working on a FNAF game, or any game for that matter, and you just can't quite find an actor or actress that can fit your role with the vision you had in your head, I honestly think it's much better to just leave the voicing up to the player, rather than using an actor or actress that is going to make your scenes feel like they came out of Garden of Banban, a game series with notoriously horrendous voice acting. Anyways, moving on to Night 5. It introduces nothing new and just serves as a more difficult version of Night 4, so there's obviously not a whole lot to talk about here. However, what we can talk about is the post-Night 5 cutscene.
Hello? Oh. Hello? Lonnie, what is this? Get me the hell out of here.
No. They can't know. God. Why are you making me do this?
Wait, what? Lonnie, what the hell are you thinking of doing?
Please. Don't make this harder than it has to be.
Lonnie, please, no. Listen, don't do this. I'm your brother!
You made me do this! They can't know. No one can know.
Please, Lonnie, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
Now, no one will know. I'm sorry, Daryl.
So, Daryl was killed via the Flex clown suit, this game's Springlocks. It's not often you see someone other than the villain in a FNAF game fall to one of these traps. I was definitely shocked when I first saw this, and you can see my reaction to it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Truly one of the most brutal death scenes I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game, except this time around, it didn't happen to someone we wanted it to happen to. Night 6 introduces this game's final two threats, and one of them is obviously the clown, Klaus, acting as this game's boss fight night. Klaus acts as every character we've seen so far, and that includes the anomaly. Klaus can attack both of your doors, can try to break your breaker boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, and is the anomaly you have to find. Namely, if his eyes are glowing, that's how you know to play the alarm. Do this 10 times and the night is over. But what about Morris? It's stated in the phone call that Klaus destroyed all of the animatronics. What about a Morris mechanic? Well, Morris is replaced by this night's second new threat, Shadow Cody, who is a much faster version of Morris. If you thought you had to check on Morris a lot, you have to check on Shadow Cody a fuck ton more. This night is intense. Klaus is fast. He will be moving around your cameras, attacking you very quickly. And in addition to the incredibly aggressive Shadow Cody, it really serves to test the limits of your skills and your timings, easily being one of my favorite nights in this entire game, and being one of, if not my favorite boss fight night in any FNAF game I've ever played.
I need funkies. We're going to do wonderful things.
Before Beth can leave the building, she's caught by Klaus, and is never seen by another human being ever again. A local who goes by the name Bethany Hasters has been reported missing as of Sunday 5 a.m. Last seen at Cody & Co.'s Game & Grub Authorities have been searching the vicinity and its surrounding forest areas to deduct what could have occurred. There is no current suspicion of foul play, but a manhunt will be conducted within the week. Authorities state to have found her place of work in disarray, sparking suspicions of the suspect being inebriated or the like. In addition to this, the robot entertainers of the restaurant were found completely disassembled and damaged beyond repair. The company has yet to release a statement, but the resigning CEO has spoken with authorities and announces that the robots will be sent for repair at one of the company's sister facilities. This story is depraved, and trust me, there's a lot that goes into it. Long before the game takes place, Cody & Co.'s Game & Grub was meant to be a second chance, a reopening of a restaurant that had already failed once before, revived under the guidance of Warren Technology. On the surface, it was nothing special. A modest, arcade-style diner built around animatronic mascots, struggling to stay relevant in a world that had already moved on. But beneath that fragile revival was something unstable, something unfinished, quietly embedded into the building's systems. That presence became known as the anomaly. Employees noticed it first, small things at the beginning, strange glitches in the animatronics' behaviors, systems responding without being touched, errors appearing where none should exist. Management acknowledged it, but only as a technical problem, something to be observed, something to be measured, not something to be feared. By the time Bethany Hasters was hired as the night guard, the anomaly was already spreading. Bethany's job was simple on paper: work the overnight shift, monitor the building, and collect data on the anomaly's activity. Her first night begins on November 9th, 1997, and at first, the restaurant almost feels dormant, quiet, empty. But that stillness doesn't last long, because each night, the anomaly grows more aggressive, and it chooses its host one by one. The first animatronic to fall under its influence is Bella the Beaver. Once a friendly mascot, Bella becomes erratic, hostile, and unpredictable, her movements no longer matching her original programming. The following night, Morris the Mouse is corrupted as well, then Jack the Jackal. Each evening, another animatronic loses control, as if something is slowly rewriting them from the inside. All the while, the anomaly watches Bethany. By Thursday night, even Cody, the face of the restaurant itself, is no longer safe. His corruption marks a turning point. The anomaly has nearly overtaken the entire system. Whatever restraint once existed is gone, and by Friday, the restaurant's original code is on the brink of a total collapse. Behind all of this is Warren Technology, and more specifically, the company's founders, Daryl and Lonnie Warren. Years earlier, Daryl had been responsible for developing advanced animatronic technology, including a dangerous experimental suit known as the Flex suit. At some point, Daryl was betrayed and trapped inside that suit. Whether intentional or negligent, the result was the same. Daryl never escaped, and what remained of him became something else entirely. The anomaly. On Friday night, Lonnie Warren lies about a meeting, betrays another employee, and secretly releases what remains of Daryl from backstage confinement. By Saturday, the animatronics have been dismantled, but the threat hasn't ended. The anomaly has a body now, a form known as Klaus, and it is no longer bound to systems or code. It hunts Bethany directly. Saturday night becomes less about surviving malfunctioning machines and more about avoiding a conscious entity moving freely through the building. And if that wasn't enough, another presence emerges: Shadow Cody, a dark manifestation tied to the restaurant's collapse, appearing as an additional threat. In the end, Bethany doesn't escape. She's caught by Klaus and taken away, her fate left deliberately unclear. In the final cutscene, Daryl, still trapped within Klaus, offers her a gift, hinting that her story isn't over, and that whatever comes next will involve choice, consequence, and continuation. And that's where After Hours at Cody's leaves us. A restaurant reopened too late, a company that tried to bury its mistakes, and a presence that was never just a glitch, but the remains of someone who was never allowed to leave. But that's not where After Hours at Cody's comes to a close. Not quite yet. We still have something very interesting to talk about. If you go to the custom night menu after completing the final night, you will see a small chest icon in the bottom corner. Clicking on it will bring you to a FNAF 4 styled lock box with 2 padlocks. And rest assured, we can get the keys. The first key is locked behind 520 mode. If there's anything you guys know about me, it's that I'm absolutely terrible at Five Nights at Freddy's games. But you want to hear something crazy? I was actually able to beat this max mode, and I even did it on my first try. I would usually never even give a max mode a try, and at the time of playing it, I didn't know that beating it would give me a key. Does that let me unlock one of the boxes? Oh my god, it did! So the fact that I played it and beat it goes to show just how much I enjoyed this game, and I really think you guys will too. But what about the second key? Well, you get it by completing this game's second max mode, 220 mode with Klaus and Shadow Cody, which yes, I also beat, and yes, I also beat on my first try. I don't think this game is necessarily very difficult by any means, but I am still very proud of myself for actually doing it. And watching me play it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, makes me look like I'm a lot better at these types of games than I really am. After completing both max modes, we can take the keys and unlock the box to find a very menacing looking character whose eyes turn on, a teaser for what will undoubtedly be a second game, and I believe that this character we see here is Bethany. But only time will tell. One last thing I want to talk about is something you can find in the extras menu. If you scroll through the characters until you find Klaus and hover over his face, you will see what I believe to be the rotting, decompiling corpse of Daryl. Truly one of the most disturbing images I've ever seen in a FNAF game. And with that, that's all After Hours at Cody's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is easily one of the most unique, interesting, and fun FNAF games I've ever played, right up there with how much fun I had playing Juniors. After Hours at Cody's really is a super fun experience with a gruesome, easy to follow story, and I highly recommend you give it a try. The original FNAF lore, arguably one of the most confusing and frustrating pieces of media ever created, with several retcons, horrendous retellings, frustrating timeline and universe splits, and so many other headaches. Five Nights at Freddy's definitely has a reputation for pretty terrible storytelling, but that's where fan-made remix can come into play. Today, we'll be covering a game called Five Nights at Freddy's Rewritten 87, a remake of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is undoubtedly the FNAF game that started the trend of, let's just make the lore of our game as confusing as possible. FNAF Rewritten serves to retell the same story that FNAF 2 did, but in a more concise and enjoyable way, while also making the core gameplay loop of the game better than the original dumpster fire that was FNAF 2 and its gameplay loop. I hope you're excited, because we've got a lot to talk about today. So grab a pet, grab some snacks, and join me today as we dive into the creatively amazing world of FNAF Rewritten 87. FNAF Rewritten 87 opens with a playable cutscene. We see Spring Bonnie standing in front of us. He calls us Gabriel, the child in the Freddy suit, and tells us to follow him. As we walk through the opening credits, we stumble upon a door. We, very creepily, I will add, see Spring Bonnie open the door, only to see Freddy sitting on the table. Oh my god. Walking inside, we get snatched up and stuffed inside of the suit. Who could have seen that one coming? Upon waking up, surprisingly not dead, or actually, who knows, maybe we are actually dead and we're just seeing through our soul at this point, we watch as Freddy and the other characters perform on stage, knowing that there is at least one dead child in one of them. However, I think we can infer that there are probably children inside of Bonnie and Chica as well. We learn about the restaurant shutting down and being bought by a bigger company, only for the whole franchise to be remodeled with safety in mind. Afterwards, we're dropped straight into night one. However, it doesn't begin in the way that most FNAF games begin. This time around, we actually start in a 3D environment, being able to walk around and explore the building to our heart's desires. Except that's a fucking lie because we can't go where Mangle and the puppet are. What? Oh my fucking god. And we can't go into the back rooms. Curiously enough, the only two places I really wanted to go, so that was a bit of a bummer. Hearing the phone ringing, we walk into the back office and really begin the night. Phone Guy gives us the typical boring speech nobody really cares about. Let's start talking about what the game changes from the original. I'm sure you could already guess, but this game's building is set up a lot differently than the original. To start, let's talk about the kitchen. The kitchen replaces one of the party rooms from the original, and actually there are plenty of employees-only areas throughout the building that connect various areas. For example, using employee-only hallways, you can walk from the kitchen to the back room, which, yes, you still cannot enter from this angle either. I know, disappointing. These new locations aren't necessarily important per se, but I do think that they're a very nice touch and serve to make this game feel reminiscent of FNAF 2 without just being a direct copy of it, and I like that. The tools at our disposal, however, are exactly the same. Flashlight, cameras, Freddy mask. However, the flashlight does work a bit differently from the original, but I'll explain that more once we start talking about a certain fat bastard. So, who are the threats introduced on this night? Well, to start, of course, we have Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica, and Toy Freddy. Okay, so this game definitely lays a lot on you. Not that that's a bad thing. If anything, it's a good thing because it gives me more to talk and complain about in this video and gives you guys a longer video because of that. Let's start with Toy Bonnie, the worst character to ever walk the face of the earth. Toy Bonnie does exactly what he does in the original. He'll make his way through the building and into your right vent. Where do you think you're going? Oh my fucking god, dude. Once you see him in your office, put the Freddy mask on, and you'll get to watch him crip walk into your office. The animations in this game, by the way, are really awesome, so get used to it. Toy Chica, while being the hottest character I've ever seen in my life, is pretty much the same as she is in the original. She struts around, my jaw drops like a cartoon character, and my eyes pop out whenever I see her, and my tongue comically falls to the floor, and she makes her way to your left vent. Oh my god, come here, bro. However, before she does, you can see her in the hallway, and literally watch her fent walk into the party room. Seriously, look at the way she initially bends backwards to start walking. That's disgusting. Anyways, once you see her in your vent, put the Freddy mask on. However, unlike the original where she just disappears, much like FNAF 2 Reimagined, Chica does actually come out of the vent like Toy Bonnie and stares into your eyes for a bit. While most people would just wait for her to leave, I actually toss around the thought of taking the mask off and allowing her to start digging in me. I could talk about my attraction to Toy Chica for days on end, but let's move on to talking about the final threat this night introduces, Toy Freddy. The fat ass, whale ass, elephant ass, hippopotamus ass, dump truck ass, island in the ocean ass, massive ass, gargantuan ass, obese ass, folds on folds ass, looking fat ass, fucking fat ass robot. Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy, while morbidly obese, if you weren't aware, is actually the first character in this game to do something completely different from the original, which I actually think is really great. A problem I have with FNAF 2 is the amount of characters that all do the same thing. While you could argue that Withered Freddy is supposed to be the main character for FNAF 2, given the fact his face is on the icon, I actually think Toy Freddy is a better fit for the main character, just given the environment the game takes place in and the overall theming of the game. And to have your main character do something as boring as Toy Freddy does, aka just walk through the hall and appear in your office, it just feels so boring and lazy. Toy Freddy in this game is actually just an asshole. If you look on your camera map, you will see 4 cameras that have a thick green ring around them. These cameras each have a breaker box inside of them. Occasionally, Toy Freddy will laugh, signifying that he's about to do something devious like putting his hand in the cookie jar, only to find out that it's empty because his sausage finger ass already put his hand in the cookie jar 36 other times today. When you hear him laugh, he'll appear next to any one of these 4 breaker boxes. You'll have to quickly find which one he appeared at and flash your camera light at him and he'll go away. He's afraid of the light, which would make sense given his build. I'm willing to bet he's the type of guy to sit in the dark at his computer all day playing a World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Valorant, or something really niche like EverQuest. So light being his weakness makes total sense. Also, we know this fat ass plays games all day and does nothing else because playing a video game is literally his mechanic in Ultimate Custom Night. This is canon, guys. He's a fat piece of shit. Scott confirmed it. He actually called me last week to tell me, quote, "Hey yo dog, Toy Freddy is a fat piece of shit, you feel me?" And I was like, fuck yeah dog, I feel you. Anyways, moving on to the last thing I want to talk about before we move on to night 2. The way the camera in this office controls. There's no other real way to describe it except fucking awful. It just feels really bad and awkward to control. It lags behind your mouse, which I'm pretty sure was intentional, but it just feels off. I was trying to click Toy Freddy's nose in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, and I just literally couldn't get the camera to stop freaking the fuck out while I was trying to do so. On top of that, there's this weird stutter it has when you go near the vents. You'll go to click on a vent to shine your light at it, but before you can, for no reason, the camera will just stutter and move even more, even if your mouse isn't moving. It's goofy. I know I nitpick a lot in these videos, but I think controls are something that should be nitpicked. That needs to be nailed. Remember how I said that was the last thing I wanted to talk about before moving on to night 2? Well, I lied. There's actually 2 more things I want to mention. First, I forgot to say the music box is still a thing. And I'm not gonna harp on it too much. You guys know how I feel about music boxes. AIDS, poop, and balls. There. The other thing I want to mention is what happens after you beat night 1. You'll get tossed back into the POV of Gabriel standing on stage as Bonnie and Chica perform around you. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Eventually, they stop performing and just stare at you, which is very uncomfortable, especially Chica. Chica's model in this game is like really fucking gross and uncomfortable to look at, so I didn't like that too much. It looks like she doesn't brush her teeth for a living. Eventually, the puppet appears in front of us, the curtains close, and we're booted into night 2. Night 2 starts by allowing you to walk around the building yet again. However, this time, we're actually allowed to go inside the arcade room. And of course, if you couldn't take a guess, there is an arcade machine that we're able to play. In this minigame, we play as a fucking drill car, which is pretty riz. We have to drive around and pop several balloons across the map. After we're done, an exit door will appear and we can end the minigame. However, if you know anything about FNAF minigames, then you'd know there has to be a secret in here somewhere. And a secret there is. After collecting all the balloons, if instead of going into the exit door you continue, you'll find a glitched wall. Driving into it will put you into a normal car. After a bit of driving, we stumble across one of the pizzerias with a crying child outside. Getting out of the car, you'll notice we're playing as Afton. We walk up to the child and presumably murder it, only for the puppet to appear in the reflection of the game, telling us that if we go deeper, it will stop us. Whatever that means. With that, another exit door appears and we're free to leave and continue the night as usual. After that, there's nothing more to do than walk into the office and talk about what new threats this night introduces. And the first threat we'll talk about is Withered Foxy. Nothing much interesting to say about this guy. He works in the exact same way as the original. He'll appear in your hallway every now and then, and all you have to do is flash him a bunch and he'll go away. One thing I do want to mention about him and why I actually like him in this game more than the original is because you flash him with your mouse, which means my poor little control key won't fucking explode. And actually, because you have to use your mouse to flash Foxy, you can actually spam the hallway a lot faster and make him leave sooner. So that's pretty great. The other threat introduced on this night is Mangle, who is probably the most interesting character we've seen so far and is probably the most interesting character in the entire game. Mangle's goal is to get into your office through the main hallway. She doesn't enter the right vent like in the original. Mangle is a very stressful character to deal with. Let me explain why. Once Mangle enters your office, she'll go to your ceiling, but this does not mean she's attacking you yet. While she's on your ceiling, very loud gurgling sounds will be heard, and the TV monitors in your office will start flashing static, Mangle, and the puppet, interestingly enough. After a bit of this, Mangle will drop her head down from the ceiling. At this time, you must put your mask on. Mangle will stay with her head down for a very long time, like much longer than you think she would. Eventually, she'll pull her head back up, but the attack isn't over quite yet. The screens will start to go all nutty again, and during this time, you're allowed to check on things you need to check on, like the music box, Toy Freddy, and Withered Foxy. Soon after, Mangle will drop her head down a second time, requiring you to put the mask on again. After she leaves for the second time, she will finally leave your office, and her attack is finally over. Mangle is easily one of, if not the most stressful character to deal with in this entire game. And one of the main reasons I feel this way is because of her synergy with Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy makes a laughing sound cue when he's about to fuck you with your fuse box. Mangle is so goddamn cock-sucking loud that she will most likely drown out his laugh unless you're paying incredibly close attention. So I'm not gonna die just because she's in here. That was Toy Freddy. She synergizes with Toy Freddy. She's loud as shit and drowns him out. But overall, if you can learn her timings, you should be just fine. And in all honesty, from what I noticed, she is pretty forgiving with how much time she gives you to put the mask on after she drops her head. Night 3 time already? Why hello. What goes on tonight? Well, the night starts just like night 2. We can take a walk through the arcade and play another game, except this time around the game in question is fucking dog shit and I didn't beat it because it's bullshit. In it, you play as Bonnie collecting balloons. Who cares about that part? At a certain distance into the sky, you'll see the ceiling is glitching. Jumping into it will turn you into Spring Bonnie and the game gets all dark. Ooh, scary. In this section of the game, you need to grab the 5 kids and put them into what I'm going to assume is the back room where they were killed. You have to do it one at a time, which really just makes my dick hurt, but whatever. Every time you collect a child, shadow Bonnies will appear around the map for you to dodge. If you touch them, the floor will disappear and you'll have to climb back up. After you collect 4 kids, however, is when this game gets bullshit. Another shadow Bonnie will spawn. However, this one looks way fucking creepier and will actually follow you. The funny part? Well, this shadow Bonnie is faster than you in every way and will literally camp your body, making it borderline impossible to make any progress. Seriously, look at what's happening on screen right now and tell me if this looks like any fun at all. Spoiler alert, it's not. I gave up because I was on the verge of sticking a pencil down my urethra and snapping it in half. However, once you deliver the last kid, an exit door will appear, finishing out the minigame. Afterwards, all you have to do is walk to the office and the night section can begin. Phone Guy talks about how the police may have a lead on a missing children's incident. Who cares? I'm glad they're dead. And he also mentions that the animatronics are getting more aggressive. That part, I do care about. So let's talk about the 2 new threats this night introduces. Withered Bonnie is introduced on this night, and he's one of the coolest characters in the entire game. Not because of what he actually does, he's just a super menacing character and I think that's really cool. Withered Bonnie will attack you through the hall rather than the vent like in the original. The animation is insane, get ready for this. When he's in your hall, he will step out in front of your doorway and stare at you. This is easily one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. Then after a bit of time, he'll step into your office and all you have to do is put the mask on until he goes away. Fucking terrifying. I love it. The other character introduced on this night is my favorite official FNAF animatronic ever designed, Withered Chica. She does, literally, the exact same thing as Withered Bonnie, which I do feel is a little lazy. However, she's so fucking cool and easily the creepiest character in this entire game. Seriously, look at this animation when she's in your office and tell me that's not the creepiest thing you've ever seen. God, I love it so much. But those are the only 2 characters introduced on this night. So far, I do think night 3 is the most boring in terms of what happens. Yes, Mangle is still stressful with Toy Freddy, and I did get the craziest attack combo of all fucking time. You didn't see me. Oh my god. Bitches at every angle! I'm getting railed from every angle. What is this? Hi! You are the most terrifying character in this fucking game. Holy shit. That's badass, dude. Oh my god, and look who's still fucking here. But in terms of what Night 3 actually brings to the table, I do feel it is a bit lackluster. I know that Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica do the same thing, but at least in a game like FNAF 2 Reimagined, while Bonnie and Chica variants did do the same thing, at least the Withereds and the toys attacked differently from each other. The only thing that's different between the variants this time around is where they come from to get into your office. Night 4. Fuck this. Terrible character introduction. Let's just jump right into it. To begin, of course, we walk through the arcade and play yet another minigame. That is, unless you're me. Since I didn't complete the bullshit minigame from Night 3, I couldn't play the minigame on Night 4. Had I known that was going to be the case, I would have forced myself to beat Night 3's minigame. But fuck me, I guess I'm locked out of all the minigames for the rest of my playthrough. But what actually happens in this minigame? Well, I'm honestly glad I never did play this minigame because it appears to be just as frustrating as the last. In it, you play as who I think is Mangle. You're tasked with finding 5 balloon boys around the map. Afterwards, you move on to the next round and holy shit! It says there's 20 fucking rounds. I think I'm gonna shoot myself. Luckily for us, actually collecting the balloon boys isn't the real objective. Occasionally, a crying child will appear from the ground, and these are the real characters you want to collect. After collecting your first one, a shadow Bonnie will appear on the map. Touching one will cause the timer at the top of the screen to decrease very quickly, so don't touch them. However, it appears that a crying child spawning only has a small chance to happen every time the map loads, so using them to lose faster to get the level to respawn might actually be an alright strategy for collecting all the kids. Eventually, after collecting a few, as I'm sure you could have already guessed, Spring Dick appears and moves at light speed and camps your body for the rest of the fucking minigame, constantly draining your time at a rate faster than your mom drains all the nutrients out of the buffet line. Once you finally collect all of the crying children, the next level will show all the heads of the characters with missing children stuffed inside of them, and an exit door will appear. Something I noticed specifically about the Golden Freddy head is just how hard it is to see in comparison to the other masks. I'm sure this has some sort of symbolism, but I'm just playing the game, bro. You figure it out. Anyways, after touching the exit door, you walk to the office and it's time for the night section to begin. This night introduces 2 new threats. Let's start with the threat that is so annoying you'll want to light your PC on fire and then throw it in a river. Balloon Boy. Balloon Boy has somehow been made even more annoying than in the original. Except not annoying as in his mechanics, that's actually easier than the original. I mean, his laugh is so much fucking worse. The way he works is pretty simple. He'll attack through either of your vents. Instead of putting the mask on like in the original, you'll instead have to spam flash your light at him. Do that enough and he'll eventually literally run away like a little baby pissed diarrhea boy. Obviously, if you don't, he jumps into your office, steals your shit, and Foxy will fuck you since you won't be able to flash him. The other character introduced on this night is Withered Freddy. What does he do? Well, let me tell you, I have no fucking idea. What do you mean you have no idea, Dexter? Didn't you play the game? Yes, I did. However, this series and this Dexter White video specifically, I wanted to try something a little different in the video creation process. Typically, after I finish recording a black series, if I think the game was worthy of a white video, I'll put it on my white list. Depending on how much I either liked or disliked the game, will determine how high up on the list the game will go. And when it comes time to script a Dexter White video, I choose the video at the top of the list and write the entire script in one sitting. I feel this leads to the beginnings of my scripts being really hard to get into, and I feel that it also makes the amount of energy I have near the end of the script drop off. So I thought for this game I'd try something new. After recording each Dexter Black video on this game, I would write the script specifically for that section. That way, I'm not writing a lot in one sitting, and I get a fresh reset every day, which I've noticed has been making me a lot happier with the script in general. However, this does bring up an interesting issue that I've only noticed now while writing and talking about Night 4. While yes, Withered Freddy was introduced, for some reason, he literally never attacked me once throughout the entire night. So I quite literally have no idea what he does and I can't really talk about it. So, this is a little awkward. I'm gonna consult the wiki real quick. Just give me a second. Let me just, 87, okay, and Night 4. Okay, here we go. We'll go to the hallway. Well, fuck. I really thought he was gonna do something cool, but no. He does the exact same thing as Withered Bonnie and Withered Chica. Just walks to your hall and eventually goes into your office where you have to put the mask on. Damn it, I really thought they'd do something interesting with this guy, and it's honestly really disappointing that they didn't. I had Withered Freddy appear in my hall multiple times throughout my Night 4 playthrough. However, never once did he attempt to step into my office. If I had to guess why, I'd say it's probably because when he was in the hallway, every other character at the same time decided to be there or be in my office. Oh my god, fucking party in the hallway! Party in the hallway! Let's just fucking not do this. Party in the fucking office! Hello! Hello, everybody at the same fucking time. Hi, guys. Fuck off. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're at Night 5 already? What a nice, totally calm and non-stressful ride it's been so far, right? Yeah, no, not really, but let's continue. To start, of course, we have another minigame to talk about, and this one is by far the most frustrating and annoying one yet. In it, we play as the puppet, tasked with giving gifts and then giving life, just like the original. However, unlike the original, where the minigame was quick and easy, this minigame is long and painful. You can see several balloons going from side to side across the screen. You can move along the top of the screen as well, and you're supposed to drop down on the crying children to give them their gift. However, you can't touch the balloons or the balloon boys at the bottom of the screen, or you will be reset to the top. Can you see where this is going? This minigame relies on luck, and you just fucking waiting for a good opening to drop down. And get this, as it goes on, it gets even worse. Every time you get a gift, a shadow Bonnie will appear in the balloons. These shadow Bonnies will move around and literally push the fucking balloons when they touch them, making the waiting for timings part even more fucking annoying. And you have plenty of them in this game. This game can take several minutes depending on your luck. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if it took someone over 15 minutes to complete this bullshit. After giving the gift to the last kid, the screen goes dark and we're told to give life, putting the character masks on each of the children, with the puppet eerily watching in the background. After giving life, the puppet goes on a 2-decade rant. She gets upset that we keep playing these games, learning what happened to the children, even at its attempts to stop us. She says she has to kill us because apparently us knowing will make them truly die. She says this because obviously she gave them life in the forms of the animatronics. But I'd argue to say that this is a fate even worse than death, Miss fucking Puppet. And I'm willing to bet that freeing the kids and letting them actually die is miles better than having them live in the place where they fucking died for the rest of eternity. So hop off my dick. Before we jump into the next section, there's something I want to mention that I found while roaming around this night. Well, actually 3 things. The first is just how many fucking puppet plushies have been accumulating around the building. Like, there are literally so many of them. The next thing I want to mention is that it was this night that I found you can knock Balloon Boy over, which has probably now become my favorite part of this game. Oh my god, I can knock his stupid ass over. And finally, the real big thing I wanted to talk about is something I found in one of the party rooms. Please, can someone tell me, what the fuck is this thing? There's an endoskeleton you can find in one of the party rooms. I don't know if it's here every night or just this one since I never checked, but tell me, who the fuck is this supposed to be? It never moves and you can't interact with it, but I just thought I'd point this out in case anybody can tell me what the hell this thing is. Anyways, how about we talk about the actual night section now? There's not much to talk about in terms of new threats, but there is something pretty interesting. At the end of the puppet's monologue, she said that tonight would be different than the nights before. She said that we've done a good job stopping her, but not tonight. The puppet gains a new form of attack on this night, and it is so fucking annoying. Remember all those shadow Bonnies that are life-ruining from the minigames? Yeah? Well, now they're in the night segments. Have fun, asshole! They show up on your cameras. Several of them, like a fuck ton of them, will appear. They will block your camera buttons, your flashlight button, and your music box wind button. When you click on one of them, they will go away. But if there's even one of them just barely touching the button with their head, their foot, their hand, even just gently plopping the tip of their dick right on top of one of your buttons, you won't be able to interact with it until you get rid of them. And you better believe that when you hear Toy Freddy's fat ass laugh, your blood pressure is gonna spike to 12K as you try to remove all these little fucking shadow bitches from the camera. Oh my god. But that really is the only new thing added to this night. Of course, this night is much harder than night 4, and yes, it's still just as overwhelming with characters constantly jumping all over your shit and grinding in your office constantly throughout the entire night. Thank you for asking. Night 6 time! Holy fucking shit, is there a lot to talk about here. I was honestly expecting this video to be close to 20 minutes, but nope. We're going way over today. So, it was at this moment I learned that in order to play Night 6, I had to beat all the minigames from the previous nights. Fuck me. So, I did that, and now here we are. This night begins with a cutscene, talking about what I can only assume to be the bite of 87. or The Bite of 83. I think this one is 83, I'm pretty sure. I literally don't know the FNAF lore at all, it's so fucking awful. In this cutscene, we play as Jeremy Fitzgerald, going into a play area to retrieve a Freddy plushie. Of course, this play area is where Mangle is kept, and it's at this moment we notice that Mangle has the toy in her mouth. Attempting to go get it, she crawls away into the slide. Following behind her, she goes down the slide and we lose sight of her, only to see that she's placed the toy in a very convenient spot. Ooh, convenient. Going to grab the toy, Mangle swoops down on us like a pedophile in the park and bites the shit out of us, killing us instantly. Jeremy is then fished up by Old Man Consequences. He explains how people who have died unfairly don't get reeled up to the surface and are forced to stay underneath the ocean until they get peace. Even though we as Jeremy died unfairly, he explains that he made an exception for us because we died due to the supernatural. He also knows that we haven't finished what we started. This conversation with him goes on for a very long time, so let's just skip to the interesting part. We come back to the building. Of course, we're playing as Michael, not Jeremy. Just wanted to make that clear in case anyone was confused as to what was going on. We are indeed Michael Afton in this game. We enter through the back of the building through a vent and go to walk back to the office. However, before we do that, I want to point out that for some reason, Toy Freddy is not on stage and is instead standing in the same party room we saw that weird endoskeleton in previously. Oh, and of course, there's yet another minigame to play. Heading into the arcade, we can begin. This time we play as Chica and we have to bring a bunch of cupcakes to a table. You'll notice that this time around, there is a lack of Shadow Bonnies. That is, until you collect all the cupcakes. If you head up afterwards, you'll see the stick figure Jeremy pointing you towards a wall. Walking into it, we get teleported to a room with several platforms. It's in this room where the big bitch Shadow Bonnie is present. If he touches you, you get teleported back to the cupcake table and will have to come back. In this big platform room, there are characters from every other minigame you've seen so far, retrieving one of the missing children from each, giving them gifts, and then finally giving them life once more. The puppet tells us we need to stay out of its way, and an exit door appears for us to leave. Candy Cadet thought it'd be a great idea to block my fucking path to the office. He speaks to us, but it almost seems as though the puppet is speaking to us through him, given exactly what he says to us.
Congratulations, Michael.
Oh, hey, Candy.
You have won a free story. No coins required.
Why do you know my name? Hey, Candy Cadet.
Michael, you should have never come back.
Oh.
I told you to leave us alone.
Oh, is that the fucking marionette?
I'm happy. We are all happy. Do not try to take them away.
You're not all
Jeremy
happy.
tried. You do not want to be like Jeremy. Right, Michael?
Oh yeah, Jeremy got bit.
If you answer that phone, if you listen to Jeremy, I will have to stop you. I know there is good in you. I know you are sorry. Please leave.
Oh, okay. You can't stop me, bro. After this, we find a different way to the office, and the night begins. Nothing new to talk about here, it's just a harder version of Night 5. That is, until we see a certain shadow rabbit in our cameras, and the building goes dark. The lights come back on, and the phone begins to ring. Every camera has too many balloons on it, and our Freddy mask has been replaced by a foxy one. There's no better way for me to explain to you what happens next. It's much better if you just watch for yourself.
Michael, I know you're in it. No, you don't, Michael. Brother is dead, Michael. You killed him. What were you even doing? You really think this is that much? I'm the one sick and not insulting enough. My son is dead, Michael. People hate you. And those who are pitying me are blaming me. You have to go to the high priest. The little face of my restaurant. So many are going to think I failed. They'll think something's broken or wrong with my work. His machine killed him. Did he not prioritize safety? I'm sorry! I didn't account for my idiot son shoving his little brother I have my parents. I need people to know this poor horseplay that caused this was no fault of mine. You are almost an adult. You deserve to take full accountability for this. All of it. You know, I'll never let go of this, Michael. You've ruined my life. I'm going to tear yours apart.
So, Michael has an episode, and Mangle is able to slip into the office and attack him. But hold up. What if I told you Mangle didn't get him? Michael comes to. He survived by jumping into one of the vents. Now it's time for us to make our grand escape. We crawl through the vents into the kitchen where we see withered Chica. Fucking terrifying, by the way. Sneaking around her, we enter the hallway and a chase with Withered Freddy begins, Withered Bonnie following close behind as well. We run through the back room, interestingly seeing that weird endoskeleton from before, but we don't really have time to focus on that. We close the door to the back room, but it's not long before Withered Foxy starts to chase us as well. Getting into the main party room, a sign falls and blocks Foxy from being able to get us. We try to run to the exit, only for two balloon boys to block the way. Before we can think of what to do, the puppet jumps out of her box and yet another chase occurs. Choosing to run to the emergency exit, Toy Freddy blocks our path. Running back into the main hallways, Toy Bonnie and Chica spot us and the chase continues. Running down the hall, Mangle falls from the ceiling as we make a sharp left into the arcade room. Exiting, Toy Freddy greets us on the other side and we make it to the exit. Fenced off, we seemingly have nowhere to go. Hearing the puppet pounding on the door behind us, we jump behind some pizza boxes to hide. As the puppet breaks her way outside, the sound of police sirens can be heard as the puppet cowers and hides before she can be seen. We look down at the logbook we took, previously owned by Jeremy, and Five Nights at Freddy's Rewritten 87 comes to a close. While yes, this is where the main story ends, there's still something super interesting I want to talk about, and that is this game's extras menu, which actually isn't even a menu. It's basically just a 3D environment you can roam around and explore. The reason I want to talk about it, well, you can re-enter the pizzeria to explore, and around it you can find several Faz tokens. Using these tokens, you can go to the arcade room and have Candy Cadet tell you a story. The story he tells consists of an infamous cave in the woods that everybody is afraid to enter. One day, a child stumbles upon it, and a beast convinces him to go inside the cave with him. The child never exits the cave. Several children entered the cave and never returned. A sorcerer found the cave with the children and banished the beast from inside, locking all the children in the cave with a seal, keeping them safe inside from the beast that trapped them there. The children had the desire to leave, but the sorcerer couldn't let them without breaking the seal and letting the beast back inside. If it wasn't obvious, this story is obviously a metaphor for the missing children's incident. The cave is Freddy's, the beast is William, and the sorcerer is the puppet. This little extra thing you can do with Candy Cadet is honestly super fun, and I think it's such a unique thing to add to an extras menu. Finding these tokens and discovering this story is such a fun experience, and you can see me do it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. But with that, as far as I'm aware, that is all FNAF Rewritten 87 has to offer. Uniqueness in FNAF games, something that isn't the most common thing in the world. I'm sure as FNAF players, we can all agree that something interesting that we've never seen before coming around is something we don't see all too often. But you better believe we suck it up whenever we get the chance to sink our big meaty claws into it. The game we'll be talking about today is a bit older. Being created 5 years ago, I'm honestly surprised I had never heard of it before, as it truly is one of the most unique FNAF fan games I've ever talked about on this channel, with a unique art style, interesting yet incredibly confusing story, and a mixture of a bunch of different game styles and mechanics. Join me today as we dive into the intricately crafted world of the Freddy Files. The Freddy Files is actually broken up into chapters instead of nights, and from the sounds of it, I'm pretty sure that each chapter of the game is 1 hour of the one night that takes place during this game. Upon starting the game, we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Our character is on the phone with 911, saying that while working, the door to the building closed and locked itself so he can't get out. The dispatcher said the police are on their way, but it will take several hours for them to get there, which, by the way, is bullshit. This restaurant is presumably in a city, or at least a town, so how is it going to take the police hours to get there? Regardless, we still have to finish our shift anyways, so we figure it's not a big deal. The dispatcher makes a point to us to not enter any unauthorized areas, which I personally find weird. And with that, we're spat into the first chapter where we're greeted with some exposition. Fazbear Entertainment started their first business with Fredbear's Family Diner, a successful business that took over the market for 5 years. However, a few months later, a child was known to be murdered by the mascot, Fredbear. Later, 4 other children went missing during the incident as well. The police searched the entire establishment for any signs of the children, but to no avail. The co-worker of the diner did not negotiate either. The case was then closed after a second failed search, April 26th, 1983. And with that, we're ready to begin the chapter. And this is where you'll notice this game is not your typical FNAF game, which is exactly why I wanted to cover it. This game, while yes, has a survival system like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's more of a top-down free roam than anything else. Whoa, what the fuck? Whoa. The point of this first chapter is to unlock a door that we're not supposed to unlock. It's an unauthorized area, so I have no idea why we're doing this despite the dispatcher literally just telling us not to. This chapter serves as an escape room, which I actually really like. And of course, there are some threats that are trying to stop us from completing it. So let's talk about those 2 guys first. The first threat introduced in this chapter is Golden Freddy. His mechanic is very simple. As you can see, we are equipped with a flashlight and a fear meter. If our flashlight is off, our fear meter will slowly increase. With the light on, the fear will go back down. So keeping this light on is obviously something we're going to want to do. Golden Freddy directly counters that. He's a ghost character that moves through walls, and he's very fast. If you ever see Golden Freddy near you, you need to shut off your flashlight and make sure he doesn't run into you by dodging out of the way. If he touches you, you're obviously dead. Something I do want to note that I don't really like about this section, and Golden Freddy specifically, there is a lot of reading in this game, mainly in the form of just interacting with things. And Golden Freddy will still be active while you're reading something, and you can't turn your flashlight on or off while you have a dialogue box up. So be prepared to die very frequently because of poor timings like this. What on earth? It's a key. Whatever hide it in here. Doesn't open the door. But fuck, dude! Can't do that while I'm fucking reading. The second threat introduced here is Shadow Freddy.
I'm Shadow Freddy, I'm so awesome and black. I'm black. I got white eyes, I'm black, I'm Shadow Freddy.
Shadow Freddy, while being awesome and black, is a much more stressful character to deal with as he's a lot more random. Occasionally, you will hear him growl. When you do, you'll notice that your fear will start increasing even if your flashlight is on. This signals to you that you need to go find him somewhere in the building that he'll teleport to at random. When you find him, all you need to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll go away, wherein your fear will start to decrease again. Now, these 2 together, in all honesty, are not that difficult to deal with. So let's talk about what exactly we have to do to open that stuck door. To start, near the stage you'll find a vent. Interacting with it will tell you that something is inside, but you can't reach it. Moving down to the kitchen, inside you'll find a safe that requires a code that we don't have. Just outside of the kitchen are some random planks and sticks for some reason. Using one of the sticks, we can go back over to the vent and fish out the item, which we find is a key. This key, unfortunately, doesn't unlock the door, but it does unlock something else. Moving down to the office, inside there is a locked box. Using the key we got from the vent, we can open it. Inside, there are several animatronic heads, but more importantly, there's a remote. Using this remote, we can turn on the monitor in our office, which will then display the code to the safe. Now, obviously, I could ask several questions as to why things are happening the way they are. Why was there wood on the floor? Why was there a key in the vent? Why was the remote to the TV locked in a box? Why does the TV just have the code to a safe? But this is clearly just a puzzle escape room game, so weird shit like this is just kind of par for the course. Continuing, now knowing the code, we input it into the safe and get a hammer. Using this hammer, we figure we can break the locked door down, so we head over to do exactly that. And that's when we're thrown into a much more FNAF feeling minigame. During this minigame, we obviously have to break down the door. However, Golden Freddy will be attacking us the entire time. While we pound on the door, he will slowly approach us from behind to beat on our bottom. Occasionally, we'll have to turn around and hold our flashlight on him to make him back up into the darkness. I personally found that pounding on the door 15 times is the most you can do to stay safe without Golden Freddy golden showering you. Do this enough times and the door will open, and we see the following cutscene. So yeah, we stumble upon the body of 3 of the dead children. Truly gruesome. However, I also have to ask why there quite literally is nothing inside of this massive room. Who knows? We reflect on what we saw and realize that 4 kids went missing, yet we only saw 3. Before we can think about it more, we hear the rest of the characters in the building activate, and knowing our lives are about to get a lot more difficult, we can move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 moves much more into a typical FNAF game. When we load in, we find ourselves in an office. We know from the last chapter that all of the characters have activated, so now we have to hunker down and defend ourselves. So let's go over the tools at our disposal. To start, if we turn around, we'll find our cameras. They're just cameras. Nothing crazy to talk about here. Turning back in front of us is where things start to matter. To start, you'll notice on the left and right doors, we'll be able to set off an alarm system. When you use these alarms, your computer's RAM will increase. Now, unlike actual computer RAM, once you stop using the alarm, the RAM usage will not go back down, which again, doesn't make any sense because that's not how RAM works, but whatever. What you have to do is manually delete the RAM by holding the delete RAM button on your monitor. That doesn't really make sense, but it's clear the dev isn't very tech savvy, but that's okay. Also on our monitor are 2 more alarms, Alarm 15 and Alarm 24. We're not going to worry about Alarm 24 right now. Alarm 15 is an alarm that plays directly in front of you. The phone guide describes this area of the building as outside, so I'm imagining it's literally a window to outside of the building. You just can't tell because it's dark as fuck. Same with the other 2 alarms, it will also increase your RAM usage. Now let's talk about the threats this chapter introduces. Fun fact, there's 3 of them: Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. I'm going to talk about Bonnie and Chica at the same time since they do the exact same thing. They will try to make it to either of your doors respectively. Bonnie attacks the left, Chica attacks the right. Once they enter your office, they will quite literally be directly in your fucking face, with their rank ass breath searing your nose hairs. All you have to do is hold the alarm on whichever side they went to and they will quickly leave. But there is one other path they both can take as well, and that's to the window in front of you. When they're out there, play Alarm 15 and they will return right to outside of your door, where they will then soon enter your office, giving you little time to delete RAM between those moments. Freddy is the final threat introduced in this chapter, and he works much the same as Bonnie and Chica, with one major change that honestly makes him easier than the other 2 we've talked about already. When he enters your office, he'll stand directly in front of you, so you can actually play the alarm on either side and he will leave. The only other change he has from Bonnie and Chica is that you have to play the alarm on him for a lot longer. Just like them, he can also go to the window, but the same rules apply to him. Chapter 2 is really just an introduction night, and despite the fact that you can see Foxy on stage, he never activates, which really means you never have to check the cameras throughout this entire chapter. And on top of that, since Foxy didn't activate and we never used Alarm 24, something tells me that Chapter 3 will also be taking place in this office, so let's move on to that. So, turns out we're actually not on to Chapter 3 quite yet. If you remember at the start of Chapter 2, we saw 12 a.m. Well, at the beginning of this next section, we see 1 a.m., which would mean we're still currently in Chapter 2. This hour is back to the top-down gameplay we saw in Chapter 1. This time around, we see our character get absolutely fucking bodied by some random guy. Oh my god, oh dear lord. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead as fuck. He's dead as disco, bro. That is shit. He's done earrings. In the note we get on this night, he says he kidnapped us to play a game, and we'll be playing with some minions. Fantastic. The gameplay of this night has us unlocking a door, which takes forever. Seriously, look at this. Oh my god. Really? So yeah. That's a lot of fun. While this is happening, we'll have to constantly be checking the doors to our left and our right. Going up to them, we can listen for growling. If we hear growling, all we have to do is run to the closet in the middle of the office and hide until they go away. However, if we stay in the closet for too long, we'll be killed by another character. Why am I getting raped from all angles today, huh? After we fully unlock the door, I fully expected this section to come to an end, but no. Not quite. Instead, we get thrown into a fucking Shadow Freddy boss fight. What the fuck? Whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck? Boss. And unironically, this boss fight is better than the only boss fight in Heartbound. But let's be honest, that's not very hard to beat. You'll have to dodge these little colored things, not really sure what the hell they're supposed to be, and then he'll start throwing pizzas at you, which are super not fun to dodge. These stupid pizzas were actually the only thing I took damage to in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. And finally, he drops these things. I don't know what they are. At first I thought olives, but then I thought about it and that doesn't make any sense. Comment down below if you know what these things are. But after you complete the fight, you'll find the body of the child who supposedly possessed Freddy, and he bleeds on the floor, which would imply to me that the kid was alive and we just killed the fucking child. If that's the case, does that mean we're clinically insane? Maybe so. We learned that we were never allowed to tell the police about the missing kids because he brought us here? Or something. I'm not totally sure why we can't tell the police. My only guess is something along the lines of it'll look like we killed them all. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I'm sure we'll learn plenty more. For now, let's continue. Now we move on to the next section of this game. We're still in chapter 2, except now it's 1:30 a.m. That's right, we're really splitting this game up into as many pieces as we can, and I'm all for it. Unfortunately, there's literally nothing interesting for me to talk about during this section. We're back in the office area, except literally nothing has changed since the first time we played this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica move slightly faster, but nothing new is actually introduced. So let's move on to 2 a.m. 2 a.m. actually marks the beginning of chapter 3, which means we have something interesting to talk about. We learn that the building got shut down due to it being disgusting as fuck. Food all over the floor, little kid throw up down the backs of the robots, all the nasty shit. During this section, we play as a temporary janitor, so I guess we just have all the fucking jobs now, huh? Something you'll notice about this night as we talk about it is that even though, yes, we are a janitor, literally no cleaning happens whatsoever. Instead, all we do is fix a fucking elevator. As that would suggest, this section of the game takes place in an elevator. Our goal is to get to floor 5, but in order to do that, we first have to connect each floor to like a mainframe or something. I have no fucking idea, just roll with it. All this section consists of is basically looking at this fucking screen until this bar makes it to this square. Once it does, press the green button on the elevator to move to the next floor. Of course, it's not just that, as there is a threat trying to eat our butts the entire time. That threat being Withered Bonnie. I'm not going to dive into the possible reason as to why we see normal Bonnie during the next sections and Withered Bonnie now. Maybe we're not playing as the same character, maybe this section takes place during a different time, or fuck it, maybe Bonnie just took his fucking face off. Who really cares? While you're connecting the elevator, Bonnie will slowly get closer and closer to you. Once he gets too close, all you have to do is close the elevator door until you hear him back off. Then go back to doing what you were doing. While the door is closed, it will drain power, but considering you only have to close the door on Bonnie for like 4 seconds, there is literally no way you're running out of power during this section. After reaching floor 5, we get a cutscene. Our character walks past an assembly line and finds the puppet's gift box. On it, we find a note that tells us to meet in the alley of Fredbear's Family Diner, signed by the puppet herself. What the fuck is going on? Why did the puppet leave this note here? Why did she know that we were going to be here? And why not just meet me to talk to me at this place since you already know I would be here? Who knows? But I'm sure we'll find out as we continue. Speaking of, let's do that. Here we are, back into the office section of the game, where this time Foxy is actually finally activated. Really should have happened last night, but we'll roll with it. Let's talk about what he does, as even though he is super basic, he's still the most interesting of the characters so far. Foxy can attack both your left and right door, much like Freddy, except Foxy actually takes advantage and turns it into an actual mechanic, unlike Freddy. Foxy too can appear at your window, except the main difference with him is that we're told he can only hear the frequency of alarm 24. So finally, we have a use for this alarm. It works in the exact same way as alarm 15 and will just send him back. The real difference with Foxy is how he attacks your doors. Unlike every other character, he won't ever enter your office, so he finally gives our camera a use after 2 nights of never needing to turn around. You'll have to watch the cameras next to your office to tell which side Foxy is going to attack. When you see him enter either one of these cameras, you'll have to use the alarm on that side of the office and he'll leave. However, you may have noticed something weird when I explained that, and I'm thinking the same thing. The alarm that plays when you use it on the doors is the exact same alarm as alarm 15, yet it scares away Foxy. But the phone guy told us that Foxy can't hear alarm 15, so like, what the fuck is even going on? This makes no sense whatsoever. Just wanted to point out that little inconsistency. There's nothing else to talk about on this night, so we can move on to the next chapter. Chapter 4 puts us back into the top-down 8-bit minigame style, something I was pretty excited to see. This section acts kind of like a puzzle section, and I say kind of because there's also quite a bit that isn't puzzles. To start, all we have to do is push 2 levers, getting scared as fuck by a shadow at the same time. Maybe I can open this? Oh no, that opened up this side, okay. Oh my god! What the fuck was that? Then we have to press 2 buttons to open a gate. But I'm not kidding you, this is quite possibly one of the tightest timings I've ever seen in my life. Pressing these 2 buttons on the timer you have to press them in is borderline frame perfect. Really made my penis hurt trying to pull this off. However, after doing so, it opens another gate with some levers to pull a certain number of times to open another gate. To figure out the code, we have to do some basic mental math. But for someone like me who sucks ass at mental math, this part took me much longer to beat than it should have, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Afterwards, we continue and have to do another even more bullshit double button press timing. This one is absolutely brutal. I can't even lie to you. Got it. Fucking A. That's ass. That opens another gate and we find the marionette. Upon walking closely, we start a conversation. We learn that we're playing as Henry, as the puppet refers to us as her father. There's a whole lot of fucking yapping here, but she basically tells him that William is killing kids again and that a new establishment is opening. The plan is to tamper with the animatronics so that Michael then tampers with them, causing them to attack William, and then William will go to take them apart, wherein he'll be forced into the suit and die, and then we'll burn down the building with everyone inside. So really just the FNAF storyline, but that's our plan. Finally, we're thrown into a midnight motorist minigame for some reason. I'm really not sure why, but it's long as fuck. And from what I could see, there was no secret way to go to juniors like there is in the original. We end by getting some dialogue from Henry and nervous about what he should do and what will happen if he goes along with the plan. And with that, we move on to the next night section that's probably going to make me fall asleep. With 3:30 rolling around, it's time for us to move on to the next night section. And believe it or not, there's actually something new that gets added this time around. That being Golden Freddy. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. We get a phone call from Golden Freddy this time around. He says he loves playing with us. So it seems that the atmosphere has taken an unfortunate sexual turn, but we have to roll with it. Golden Freddy's mechanic is so simple, yet easily the most annoying one we've seen yet. All he'll do is at random appear right in front of you. When he does, all you need to do is turn around and he'll leave. You might be wondering how that would ever become a challenge under any circumstance. Well, that's where we need to start talking about the rest of the character's AI being ramped up to the fucking moon during this section, because it's insane. The rest of the characters during this night move around so quickly and will be in your office almost at all times, meaning that your RAM usage is going to be through the roof for the first time throughout your playthrough. And who's going to be there to interrupt you while trying to get the animatronics out of your office and trying to get your RAM down? Golden Freddy will be there. That's who, at all times, to make sure your blood is boiling as much as possible. No 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 no. Bonnie, go away, bro! I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. Fuck! 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 Oh my god, 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 oh my fucking god. Oh my god, my RAM is so fucking high. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, fuck. But that's really all this section has to offer. Really did a 180 in terms of difficulty, and I like it a lot considering the other sections of this game have been so piss easy I was able to film them half asleep. Chapter 5 gets a little confusing as I started to become aware that we are likely switching between the POVs of two different characters and have been throughout the game. It seems like we know we've been playing as Henry several times, and we're doing so during this section as well. But if we're playing as Henry during this section, then it must mean we're not playing as Henry during the repeating night sections. To start, this night begins with a note telling us that Fazbear's is closing after the rumors about the missing children. We all know how this goes. What gets weird is that during this section, which keep in mind is 5 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., we have to play through an entire night from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., which means that this section of the game has to have happened at a different time. We know that Henry's plan is to plant sound chips in the robots so that Michael tampers with them. Then he'll fire Michael. William will dismantle the robots and then free them or something. I don't know, it's a bit confusing, and I'm more than a bit dumb. Let's actually talk about what we have to do during this section and why I actually shouldn't be explaining it to you because I'm not even sure what I did. Basically, we have two doors to our left and right that we can close. Doing so drains our power. Throughout this night, all of the four characters will attempt to get into our office to void us of our insides, which is just not something we're looking forward to. When they get to the door, you'll hear fast footsteps. All you have to do is hold the door closed until you hear slow footsteps. However, if that's all you'll do, the characters will be at your door too frequently and you'll run out of power. So that's where the PC in front of us comes in handy. Using it, we can do two things. The first is scanning the entire building to see where the threats are at, and the second is an audio lure that you can play in any room. Let me be completely open and honest with you guys right here. I have no fucking idea the proper way to use these lures. Every time you do an action on the PC, you have to wait 6 seconds for the tools to refresh. At first I thought I should spam lure one central area to get everyone in one spot and keep them there. But apparently that's bad, as I was told from a tip after dying. So then, I'm not gonna lie, I just started spamming the audio lure all through a bunch of different rooms and random areas, and doing that just worked. Oh, hey, look at that. That was kinda tough. I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know what I was doing with the audio lure. I really wish I could provide a strategy here, but I really can't. I'm guessing I just got lucky because there was literally no critical thinking coming from my head during this section. But with that, surviving until 6 a.m. will complete this half-hour section of the overall game. Again, I said this part is confusing as fuck. Henry mentions the plan to kill William is almost ready, and at least I'm pretty sure William's saying it because this cutscene starts with I am. But at the same time, a few lines later, the person talks about finding more pages, which sounds like something our non-Henry player was doing, so I literally have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm really just here to talk about the gameplay, so let's do that instead and continue. Moving on to 4:30, we've got yet another typical night section to talk about. And I can't lie to you, not much to say here. No new threats are added, but holy shit, do the threats that already exist really start to ramp up. The RNG in this section really starts to show on this night, as I would have a character at my window, at my door, down my pants, in my dick, pretty much constantly, which gave me almost no time to ever delete the RAM. It took me only 2 attempts to beat this section, but the insane contrast between how aggressive they were on the first attempt versus the second is drastic and should not be overlooked. This was some crazy bullshit, but once again, nothing new is actually introduced, so we can move on to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is by far probably the most interesting one we've talked about so far. It begins with a cutscene, one that should be all too familiar to us as FNAF fans. So just for you guys, fuck talking about it, let's take a look at it together.
So, this is it. It's time to end what William has done. It's time to end their suffering. Those little souls trapped in this labyrinth. I've gathered them up in here, and I can finally destroy them. I've found the ones that have yet to be destroyed and set free. For instance, those little children, the ones that come together as a group on a daily basis. I've always wanted to see them every single day. They'd always brighten up the atmosphere in Circus Baby's Pizza World. Every day, they'd come to play with all of the animatronics. Every employee, employer, and manager knew the name of those three. But ever since William made his poor design choices, things were never going in the right direction for them. On the very next day, they all disappeared. I'd never realized that William could create such abominations. I realized there was a reason why Funtime Freddy had a huge tank. It was quite obvious. And no wonder the other two were always active every now and then. Not to mention Circus Baby. She was brought outside on the first day and was forced to stay inside the next day. It's such a misery, to be honest. I wasn't the only one who saw Circus Baby capture Elizabeth. Now, her soul is trapped inside of her. I wouldn't forget my daughter as well. No more shall I let her suffer as one of William's creations. This place is where everything shall end. A maze with no exit. A labyrinth with no prize. They don't even realize they are trapped. For some of them, I believe there is peace and perhaps more. Although, for you, William, the darkest pit of hell is ready to swallow you whole. You will keep burning and burning along with the creations of your own. This is where the story ends. For my daughter, the other innocent children, and William, this ends for all of us. End communication.
God, it doesn't matter how many times I hear the FNAF 6 Henry speech. Every single time I hear it, it gives me chills. Easily one of the best monologues in gaming history, right up there with the definition of insanity speech from Voss. Try to find a better speech. I fucking dare you. Anyways, on to what we actually have to do during this section after that cutscene. Well, it's very weird, to say the least. In it, we play as the puppet, wandering through a dark forest. Scattered around are the 5 souls of the missing children, each with a color above their head. We know that at this point, we're playing as Charlie, Henry's daughter, obviously. After a bit of searching, we're told to find all of the magic to set them free. Hidden around the forest are several weird magic orbs. After collecting 3, we can begin to set the children free. We do so by finding 5 colored cupcakes around the map, and taking each colored cupcake to its respective colored child. Pause. That sounds terrible. Anyways, after doing so, we hear from Henry again. He thanks his daughter for saving the children, boasts about William finally being gone. He mentions he has all the Freddy files.
He said it! He said it!
And with that, we're ready to move on to the final part of our shift, wherein after we should hopefully have the cops arrive. Because if you recall, that's literally the first thing we did. Call the police, and they're somehow still not here yet, which is completely crazy, I will add. But who cares? Let's move on to the final shift. And here we are at the final chapter of the game. What's new to talk about in this final section? A cool final boss fight night? No, it's nothing new. Same shit, different day, really. But what is interesting is what happens afterwards. Henry arrives at some door. I assume it's the door to the building. He says way too much shit nobody cares about. Like deadass, he talks for so fucking long. Bro just recaps the whole game. It was so fucking boring, I'm not even gonna put you guys through it. Point is, he collected all the Freddy files, which helped him remember what William did or something, and now William's dead. Cool. Children are free. Great. Now all we have left to do is stop Fazbear Entertainment from ever coming back. How is he going to do that? Well, lucky us, that's not our fucking problem to figure out, because Henry opens the doors and the credits roll and the Freddy files comes to a close. Wait. Hold up. Freeze frame. What about the cops? Do we not remember that this game began with a phone call to the police? Where the fuck are they? Were we Henry the entire time? Or are we jumping back and forth between 2 people? And if we were Henry the entire time, where the fuck are the cops? Why did we call them if we ended up leaving the building by ourselves anyways? What the fuck is going on? Also, if that wasn't a big enough of a fuck you, this game actually still isn't done. After the credits finish rolling, the fucking creator of the game starts talking to us and goes on a whole fucking monologue about having to do a whole bunch of shit to do something. I have no fucking idea. I was hardly paying attention. Basically, we have to go back to an earlier chapter with a locked door, find a key, open the door, but not before going going to another chapter where we typed in a code and instead type in his name. Whose name? I have no fucking clue. Then open the door, go to another chapter to a room that we never did anything in, find another key or something, then play 4 minigames in the extras menu, but do something specific in them to find a key in all 4, then go to the survival mode of the game, which isn't even made, by the way. Click the bottom of the screen on an invisible fucking button, then you're teleported to a room with 4 keyholes and a door, put the 4 keys from the minigame in the holes, unlock the door, and then fucking something happens. Do I have any idea what happens? No, not at all. Well, luckily for us, I found a guy that actually did it. Shout out to Tanzi Natali for actually doing all this bullshit so that I didn't have to. Basically, there's a final boss fight with a character named Null, and it's just like a bullet hell, except shitty. Then the creator talks to us again. Apparently, the creator of the game inserted himself into the game as the Red Freddy, who apparently isn't even Golden Freddy. It's just the fucking developer. He says he can, like, change the AI of everything or something. Guys, I'm gonna be so honest, I just don't fucking give a shit. If you guys are curious as to what happened after the Null fight, go watch Tonsi's video about it. Holy shit, I just don't fucking care. But that's all the Freddy Files has to offer. Overall, I do think this game is actually pretty cool. I love the idea of mixing in night sections with the little mini games, and even though lore-wise this game is a confusing clusterfuck, I think from a gameplay standpoint, it was still pretty cool. Even if the gameplay is easy as fuck, at least there's something different to do all the time. Also, the pixel art style is super charming, so that's nice too. What do you think is the most overused and bloated genre in the FNAF community? I know that might seem like a weird question, but in recent years, I really think I've come up with a really good answer to it. Just something that you see in FNAF games that has become sickening to see. Maybe you think the ransomware trend has run its course and needs a break for a while. Maybe you think boss fight nights have been done to death and we need something new. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Well, for me personally, I think every other FNAF game being about Fredbear has been done so much and I just really need a break. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed from me bringing this up, that is the type of game we'll be talking about today. And no, unfortunately for you, it isn't Fredbear game number 998433, so if you were hoping for that today, I apologize. But stick around because I think you'll really like this one too. Maybe. The game we'll be talking about today is called Welcome to Fredbears, and I'm willing to bet that even if you've seen this game before, you might not know which one it is just from me talking about it, since all of the titles of the Fredbears games are pretty much exactly the same. I would explain what the game is about, but that's what the entire video is, so just strap in, try the Big Mac meal for the first time, and let's get right into Welcome to Fredbears. Welcome to Fredbears starts with an opening cutscene. In this game, we actually play as William, which I think is pretty cool. We get a call from an unknown number, and the man on the other end explains that he works at a storage facility in Utah. I personally didn't even know anybody actually lived in Utah. I thought that was just like some fairy tale place, but hey, I guess you learn something new every day.
Hello?
Hello?
Am I speaking to William Afton?
Yes, and you are?
I'm calling you on behalf of the storage rental of Utah. Unfortunately, we have gone out of business, and we're accordingly emptying out all of our storage units, except for yours due to the excessive amount of items in your units. So please come to the storage facility at your earliest convenience, or you will be fined. If possible, tonight.
With that, William wastes no time and pulls right up to the storage facility like I pull up to Shotty's house after she had 3 bean burritos from Taco Bell. Jesus Christ. Dude, we're just getting started. What is wrong with me? After entering the building, we go to find our storage unit, only to see a sticky note on the door explaining that the key to our unit is on the desk in the main room, just making me waste my fucking time walking all the way back to the front desk to pick it up, only for us to then have to walk all the way back. Personally, I'm loving the direction this game is going already, aren't you? By the way, during this opening section, we have a to-do list to guide us along the way of what we're supposed to do. And I personally like to imagine that William is writing these notes to himself so that he knows what he has to do. And I think it's really funny that he's writing basic shit like find a unit, open the unit, like he's retarded and won't be able to remember basic things. Anyways, moving on. With that, we open our storage unit and step inside, only to realize that this just might be the largest storage unit to ever grace the face of the planet, because holy shit, this thing is gigantic. I happen to own a few storage units myself, and not a single one is even close to being this big, but that's really besides the point. Obviously, the real reason we're here is to move all of our belongings out of the unit, which I find odd because we only came here in our tiny little dinky car, knowing full well we have a storage unit full of shit to clear out. I guess we just really want to be moving for the next month straight. And now, would you believe me if I told you that even knowing we have to start moving things out, we don't start moving things out? I know. Hard to believe that we would come to this building and not do the one fucking thing we were tasked with doing. So you might be wondering, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then what are we doing? Oh shit! Oh shit! Motherfucker old as shit! Look at the motherfucking glasses on that bitch! Dang, a fat motherfucker right here got a big old pot belly on that big boy. Fuck. Well, the answer to that question is simple. All we have to do is walk around the unit and look at sticky notes. As you can see, we have several animatronics around the area, and each is labeled with a sticky note. It seems like these variations of the characters are very early versions of the final designs, which would make sense since most of the Fredbear's games do take place a long time ago. Every time we pick up a sticky note, a page is added to our notebook where we're tricked into thinking that we're going to be learning something interesting about the characters, when in reality, that's not true, and we actually just learn how we're going to have to deal with each of these characters once we finally get into the night sections. Speaking of, when does that actually happen? Fantastic question, viewer of questionable age. I'm rewriting that line. That sounds awful. Fantastic question, viewer who probably isn't actually viewing the video, but is instead listening to it in the background. Let me tell you exactly what happens next. After we look at the last sticky note, we hear an alarm go off. Stepping out of our unit for a moment, we see that the door to the hallway we're in has been closed. Looking around, we see nothing weird, and then somehow fucking Circus Baby appears right next to us. Oh my fucking cry ass, bitch! The fuck was that, ho? Who the hell was that? What the fuck baby bitch doing in here? Tall glass of water looking ass. No, seriously, where the fuck did she come from? We look in both directions and see nothing, and then somehow she's right next to us. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Anyways, we have to do a short QuickTime event to get away from baby and then run to the security office. Now pause. Why the fuck do we have a security office inside of our storage unit? It's not like the security office is to the entire building. No, it's actually specifically inside of our unit. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Oh yeah. It doesn't. After making our way into the office, we see Baby walk up to the window where we learn the first mechanic of this game. Throughout the night, Baby will approach our window. When she does, all we have to do is shut the power to the office off so that she can't see us, and eventually she'll leave. She will do this several times. It's also just scripted here at this moment. Throughout the game, we'll be able to pull out our notebook and read about the animatronics we took notes on, which will soon be attacking us. Something I chose not to do during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. I instead chose to trial and error things for minutes on end because I forgot that I could look at this notebook. It's also in this notebook where we can see William live writing his thoughts instead of defending himself. This game is split into hours rather than nights, and on the first hour, he writes this.
Building power. It seems like the power in the building is out, except for this security office. The computer seems to be working. I can probably use it to get the power in the building up and running again. Until then, I'll just have to survive.
And with that, we're thrown into the first hour of the game, and this video can finally start sounding like all of my other videos. To start, let's go over the office and the tools at our disposal. During the free roam section, we picked up a flashlight, and we still have that now. We can flash this light, which is exactly how a flashlight works, so I don't know why I told you that. To our left, we have the door to this tiny room. It can be toggled and thankfully has no power system. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. And finally, to our right, we have the second threat this game introduces, which I guess I'll talk about right now since he's literally right in our office. This is Fredbear. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't Fredbear one of the characters that we saw out in the storage area? And you would be right in saying that. However, this is also Fredbear. It's just another one because why make a new character when we could just fucking not, right? Yay, creativity! Throughout the night, Fredbear will try to get up and attack you. Dealing with him is incredibly easy. All you have to do is occasionally hold your flashlight on him and he'll sit his fat happy ass back down. Your flashlight also has no power, so you'll be happy to hear you don't really ever have to worry about that. Finally, the last thing to talk about is the way the night progresses. Even though we have a clock on our desk, that is very misleading as this game is not completed based on time, but is instead a task-based completion game, which you know what that means. No actual task, and it's just waiting with extra steps. Also on our desk is a computer. Turning on the computer will show two things that we have to reboot: the ventilation and the power. When you click on them, they will slowly start to reboot. And once both of them are rebooted, then the hour will be over. Very boring, but sure, whatever, I guess. Something I want to mention about Baby, since it actually makes sense to mention it now, is what happens when you turn the power off to deal with her. Well, that's very simple. Not only does your door open if it was closed, but of course your computer will turn off as well and progress to rebooting will be paused. Now, that's not a problem at all, but what is a problem is the embarrassing amount of times I forgot to turn the computer back on, leading to the night taking way fucking longer than it ever needed to. So, even though Baby did follow us to the room this night, she surprisingly isn't actually active at this point in time. Who is active, however, is Fredbear. No, not the Fredbear in our office. Well, yes, he is active too. I'm talking about the other Fredbear, the one that we saw a bit earlier. In hour 1, we're attacked by 2 Fredbears at the same time. Talk about the worst double penetration of your life. This is a train you never want to ride on. Fredbear 2, as I will be calling him from now on, will be present outside of your door. Slowly throughout the hour, he will creep closer and closer to your office like Jared Fogle used to creep closer to playgrounds in broad daylight. All you have to do is literally the exact same thing as the Fredbear in our office. Occasionally flash your light through the doorway to scare him away. So as long as you're doing that semi-frequently, you'll be fine. And you'll be doing it a lot because this is what the gameplay looks like all the time.
All I know is DDF, AAF, DDF, AAF. That's all I know.
But yeah, that's all this first hour has to offer, except you'll be excited to hear that this game actually has some post-night minigames that are just as mind-numbing as the actual nights. Aren't you just so fucking excited? I know I am! After the reboot is up, obviously the power goes out since it's all rebooting. During this time, we need to turn around and replace 3 fuses in the generator so that the reboot can be completed. Doing this is very easy, but very time-consuming. You will have to very slowly unscrew 6 different screws to get the fuses out. Each screw will take about 30 fucking seconds to undo, so be prepared to be here for the next 8 years. I'm not very good at math. After all of the screws are out, you have to remove the 3 fuses, grab 3 more from a box on your right, and replace them, then re-screw the goddamn screws. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Of course, it's not just that easy. Everybody knew it wasn't going to be that easy. During this minigame, you're armed with a lighter. What happened to your flashlight? I literally have no idea. It's not tied to power, so I don't see why we couldn't use it, aside from the fact that the dev thought using a lighter during this section would just be more creepy. Who really knows? Both Fredbear and Bonnie will be coming for your cheeks during this section. However, you'll notice that it's really only ever Fredbear that's a problem, and you'll understand why once I explain how they work. You will have to listen very closely since they both are pretty quiet. Fredbear will attack from your left and Bonnie will attack from your right. When you hear Fredbear moving, all you have to do is turn left and hold your lighter in his face until he sits back down. Something about this lighter though is that it doesn't always light up properly on the first go. So you'll have to flick it quite a few times, which I will admit is pretty nerve-wracking and is pretty fucking cool. I'll explain Bonnie a bit later since the chances of him attacking you during this section are pretty much 0. So for now, let's finish up the fuses and reboot the power and start on the next hour. Something I do actually like about this game is how it really feels like it's one constant night throughout. After you finish the fuse, you turn back around and the next hour continues right there. It's just a simple detail, but a lot of the time it's the simple details I like the most. This hour does introduce someone new, who is really just a copycat of a character we've talked about already. You know, recently, as I've been looking for games, I've been going back on older games I've played on Dxtr Black and wondering why I've never made videos about them. Now that I've finally been starting to do that, it's pretty obvious to me why I haven't. A lot of the FNAF games I've played really just don't have a lot to talk about, and I don't want my videos to be under 20 minutes. That's why a lot of the time in these newer Dxtr White videos, you'll hear me go on retarded tangents more often. I don't want you guys to have a 10-minute video to watch. Anyways, moving on. The new character introduced on this night is Bonnie. Hey, awesome, we were just talking about you. Now, technically, this character is Spring Bonnie. However, the sticky note calls him Bonnie, so I'm going to be calling him Bonnie too, since that takes a lot less time to type. And I have a pounding migraine right now. I want to get this script writing section of the video's pipeline done as fast as I possibly can. Bonnie is pretty much just baby, and by pretty much, I mean he literally is. Bonnie will occasionally walk up to the window in front of you. When he does, all you have to do is turn the power off until you hear him knock on the glass, and then a few seconds later, you'll be able to turn the power back on again. And for the love of fuck, do not forget to turn your computer back on like I did.
Holy shit. I wonder how many more times I'm gonna forget to turn that thing on and just absolutely just fucking ream myself.
Anyways, now we can move on to talking about the post-hour minigame. Hooray! You may be wondering what there even is to talk about here, since it's going to be the same thing every single time. And that's a very good question. But worry not, I have an answer for you. On this hour is when Bonnie will finally be here in this reboot section. However, he's also joined by the other Fredbear. Fredbear 2 works the exact same as Fredbear 1, except he attacks the opposite side. Same shit, different day with him. Just turn your lighter on and he'll go away. Bonnie, however, is a bit different and is literally completely useless as a character during this section. He will only ever attack your right side, and he has a different sound cue that plays from Fredbear 2. The difference between the sound cues is incredibly noticeable, so you will literally never mess them up and confuse the two. When Bonnie attacks, all you have to do is not turn the lighter on, so you can literally just fucking ignore him. It's not even like you can't move. No, you can move as much as you want. You can even keep unscrewing and he won't bother you. So like, what is even the point of having him there? I have no idea. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to the next office hour. Hour 3 is quite literally the exact same as Hour 2. No new threats are introduced, everyone is just a little bit more aggressive. That is, except for Bonnie, who is a fuck ton more aggressive. So much so that you may have him attack pretty much the moment you turn the power back on. He means business, and he's not messing around. And of course, when you're like me and forget to turn the computer back on, with how much he attacks, this hour will slow to a fucking crawl. It's completely brutal and one of the most painful experiences I've ever been through, and I've been mauled by a dog and hit by a car, so that's saying a lot. I really just feel like there could have been so much more done with this game. Truly, they had a pretty interesting free roam section at the beginning of this game, and they just don't use it anymore. This gameplay loop of turning back and forth is the rest of the game. I think it could be really interesting if, let's say, for example, after completing an hour, the batteries to our flashlight died, and we had to exit the security office and walk around the darkness looking for new batteries while the animatronics patrolled around and we only had our lighter. I know I personally hate stuff like that, but really anything would be an improvement from how boring this game really feels. And like, not even introducing a new character each hour makes it even worse. It's so boring. Like, I just saw Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie. Why are you only giving me them again? Add something new. Even if it's not a new character, add a new mechanic. Make the task you have to complete each night something different, not just a fucking waiting simulator. Make one of the tasks be a minigame where you have to move through a maze or something, like the Tron game you have to play when you're doing heists in GTA Online. That'd be so fucking cool. But no, instead we're given barnacle dick, bottom of the barrel ChatGPT ass ideas. Actually, that's not even true. I bet ChatGPT could think of a somewhat different way to spice up the gameplay a little bit. This game looks really good, and the voice acting we've heard is amazing. It's just really disappointing that the actual gameplay of the game isn't interesting at all. Anyways, of course, after completing the task, we turn around and do the exact same fuse box task again, which, by the way, I will mention is very odd. Why are we having to replace the fuses every hour? This seems very counterintuitive. William has to be spending upwards of $12,000 on fuses monthly to keep this shit lit up. And we know he is because when we first entered the unit, the lights were on. And from the phone call, it sounds like he hasn't been there in a while. So like, what the actual fuck is going on? So much of this game just doesn't make any sense. But whatever, let's just move on to the next hour where hopefully something new is introduced. Hour 4 or 3 a.m. once again, and I'm not kidding, literally introduces nothing new again. Once more, it's just Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie, except they're more aggressive than before. But spoiler alert, there's so little to do during this game that even if their AI is increasing, you really won't be able to tell since it's not any harder. Flash, turn, turn, flash, turn, turn, flash, repeat. If you ever hear Bonnie, shut the power off. When that is the gameplay loop, it really doesn't fucking matter how fast you make the characters, since the only difference you'll actually notice is that each night turns into a fucking slog because you have to turn the power off for way longer, meaning that your tasks aren't being finished, which doesn't make the game more challenging, it just makes the game way more uninteresting. If you haven't noticed, we're halfway through this game and we haven't had to close the door a single time. During my playthrough, I was choosing to, but there's literally no character throughout the game so far that would make you close this stupid door. I'm honestly confused why we can't have it closed the whole time. Sure, Fredbear 2 will kill us, but I wonder how that's even possible. If we have a robot that's able to open the only door defending us, I think we have a much bigger issue on our hands in all honesty. Since I literally have nothing to talk about right now, I guess I could bring up what happens if you don't turn the lights off for Bonnie, since I'm just now noticing I didn't do that. If you don't turn the power off, he'll punch a hole in your window like he's Blank from Five Nights at Candy's. That's about it. But guys, come on, can you tell I've really got nothing to work with in this game? And of course, the post-night minigame is nothing different at all. Fuck trying something new and exciting, right? The entire FNAF community are all retards and they'll just eat up anything you put in front of them. And that pisses me off because it worked on me. I beat the fucking game even though I thought it was boring. Maybe I'm the problem. I have no idea. I want to keep yapping about stuff since I can tell this script really isn't going to be much longer if this game keeps going in the direction it's going in, but I've really got nothing else to talk about here, so let's just move on to Hour 5. Hour 5, thankfully, does actually give me something else to talk about. 2 new things, actually. Don't know why you couldn't have just split them up so that the last night wasn't so fucking useless, but oh well, I suppose. This night reintroduces Baby, so let's get to talking about her since her mechanic has changed just slightly. Same thing as before. She'll walk up to your window on occasion just like Bonnie, and all you have to do is turn the power off. But then she'll walk to the left. This signals that she's about to attack your door, so you'll need to close it. Now you might be thinking, how are you going to be able to turn the power back on and close the door by the time Baby is able to get over to it? Well, come on in real close because that's a really good question. And luckily I do have an answer. You're just not really gonna like it. You can actually close the door while the power is out. Yes, I'm serious. I lied before. There's just so many goddamn problems here. I don't even know where to start. What do you mean the door can close while there's no power? It's a mechanical door. It needs power. What is this bullshit? Name one other FNAF game with a closable mechanical door that can be closed while there's no power. I'll wait. Oh yeah, there fucking isn't any because that's stupid and doesn't make any fucking sense, now does it? That means that the only thing the power controls is the light to the room we're in. No, not the flashlight, the room light and the computer. That's literally it. What do we even need to reboot anything for? This seems completely pointless now. I could probably talk all day about this, and while I would love to pad out for runtime, I also don't want to piss you guys off, so let's just move on. The final threat introduced on this night is Foxy, who is probably the most useless character in this entire game. And I know that may come to you as a surprise, because every character in this game seems pretty useless. Foxy attacks via the door. And I bet from myself saying that you can already guess exactly how he works and exactly why he's so useless. But in case you aren't able to put those pieces together by yourself, allow me to assist you. Occasionally, Foxy will sprint at your door and you'll have to close it to stop him from eating your butt. However, since the door has no limit to how long it can be closed for and it doesn't open when your power is off, you will probably never see Foxy throughout your entire playthrough. Just occasionally hear him slam on the door. This may make you wonder what I was talking about earlier where I said I was going to abuse this game's kindness. Editor, run it back. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. This is that point. Since you still need to have the door open to be able to check on Fredbear 2, you can't literally have it closed the entire night. And I get the funny feeling that with this in mind, the dev thought the possible problem of closing it the entire night would be solved. But guess what, fucker? You couldn't be more wrong. All you have to do is open the door, quickly flash in less than a second to reset Fredbear. Since, contrary to what I've seen other people do in their playthroughs, you don't actually have to hold the flashlight on him until he leaves. You just have to hit him with it for longer than 1 frame. Then all you have to do is immediately close the door again. And if you get good enough at doing this, even if Foxy just so happens to be running at your door in the exact moment you open it, it won't be open for nearly long enough for him to enter the office. So he is quite literally a useless character. Awesome. So even though 2 threats were introduced on this night, it's basically like no threats were introduced at all. I love my life. Speaking of useless, we have the next post-night minigame to talk about. And this time around, it actually does do something a little bit different than the previous ones. Just kidding, I fucking lied like normal. It's just as boring and repetitive as the other post-night minigames we've mentioned. So let's stop wasting our time and just move on to Hour 6. Hour 6, surprisingly, once again introduces something new to the mix. And I'm actually not lying this time. However, with them introducing a new character on this night, it actually means that each hour could have had one thing introduced each, and this game just chose not to do that, which will forever be mind-boggling to me. This new character is Freddy, I think? I have no idea what the fuck it is. When you guys see it, you will have to comment down below on who you think this is supposed to be, because I really can't tell. This new threat, who I'll call Freddy, is another window attacker, since we've already established that the door is useless. When he approaches your window, he makes it clear that he has night vision, since turning off the power will not be enough to stop him. What you'll have to do instead is actually a lot less annoying, but hey, at least it's something new. Once he approaches, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on his face until he leaves. This could have been a good opportunity to turn him into a sort of Candy's 3 fight where he moves his head around and you'll have to follow it, but unfortunately that did not happen and he's just stationary. But again, at least it's something new that actually makes me have to do something else. And from what I could tell during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, he doesn't make any sound cues when he reaches your window, giving you an actual reason to flash the window consistently, because up until this point, you didn't have to, and for some reason, you can't even really see him in the window. While I am happy that this game has started to pick up on things to talk about, I do wish they were a bit more interesting so I could talk about them a little bit longer without repeating myself. But sometimes I just can't be that lucky. So once we repair this shit one last time, there's only one more thing to do. And no, it's not another repair post-night minigame, thankfully. Instead, it's just listening to a cutscene that, in all honesty, is pretty cool. So I'll just let you guys sit back and take a look.
Hello, William. It's me. You still recognize me, don't you? Well, you should, I suppose. After all, it was you who left me like this. Why didn't you do anything? Scared of getting the blame? Now standing here, 17 years later, all the blame falls on you. 17 years, William. You left me here for 17 years. Soaking in my own blood, rotting in our creation, praying you would return. Now you're here. You've endured what I couldn't, and now you have to live with it. Our legacy.
And there we go. An unknown person walks up to us in a Springlock suit. I can only assume this person is supposed to be Henry, since he refers to the suit he's in as our creation and we play as William. But I actually think this is a really interesting twist on the original story. Instead of William dying in the Springlock suit, Henry did, and William just hid his corpse away in a storage unit for 17 years, which is an insanely long time to be conscious and unable to do anything. So I can totally see Henry's frustration here. However, of course, you guys know me, I always find a way to complain about something, and I found something that doesn't make sense during this cutscene to point out. Do you want to tell me how the hell that text was appearing on the screen? How was Henry able to set that up? Did he program that into the monitor and then rehearse the actions he does at the window for 17 years just waiting for William to arrive? That's really the only thing I could think of that would make this make any sense at all. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But with that, that's all Welcome to Fredbear's has to offer. What it really has to do with Fredbear, aside from the fact that there are 2 Fredbears in it, I really don't know. I feel like this game could have done a lot better with a better name, but what do do I know? Overall, I think Welcome to Fredbear's looks wonderful and has some nasty and awesome character designs. However, the gameplay loop is just so unfulfilling, boring, and headache-inducing from all of the whiplash that I really just couldn't enjoy it fully. And while I do think that the final cutscene is pretty cool, and I like the way this game changed the original story, I don't quite think that's enough to warrant me recommending this game to people who are looking for an interesting FNAF experience. The kings of classic FNAF fan games. What comes to mind when I say that? Maybe Five Nights at Candy's, Five Nights at Wario's, Those Nights at Rachel's, and Treasure Island, to name a few. But for you freaks, you goons, you heathens, there might just be another answer. A game so popular when it came out, for a reason I'm not even sure of myself. Today, I'll be talking about that game. A game so utterly terrible, yet somehow loved. Sit back and relax, because today we're diving into the weird world of Five Nights with Mac tonight. Where do I even begin with this game? Probably by saying that for this video, I played both the first and second games, except not really because I played the remastered versions of them. Was this a good idea? No. These games were pretty bad, and unironically enough, the thing about them that pissed me off the most was the story, but we'll get into that later. And trust me, you don't want to miss that. The game starts as you'd expect an old FNAF game to begin. We pick up a newspaper and accept a job at a restaurant full of animatronics waiting to break our consent and make their willy wag. We enter the restaurant and get the first phone call of the night, and really begin the nightmare that is this game. Not only are these phone calls absolutely horrific from a story standpoint, but they're also somehow even worse from an immersion standpoint. Why? Well, not only are they quite literally impossible to hear because of how fucking loud the rest of the game is.
This is Chrissy. You may remember me. I'm the manager here at this Packers.
But I guess the developer thought that it'd be really funny not to cut out any of the mistakes by the voice actor.
We can't afford broken animatronics in a restaurant that hasn't even opened yet. We can't afford broken animatronics in a restaurant that hasn't even been broken to the public yet.
That's more funny than anything, but the whole barely being able to hear the phone call part is enough to make me want to throw a baby deer in a river. Oh yeah, and if that wasn't bad enough, the phone guy is also Australian, so that's just torture. Anyways, the phone guy doesn't really say anything of substance in this night, really only explaining the basics, but I get the feeling I can do a hell of a lot better than he can. Let's start by going over the few tools at our disposal. First, we have the cameras. No shit. On the cameras, we have a call button that is located on the camera that contains Mac tonight. This button does what you'd think it does. Makes some noise, animatronics go, "Ew-wee," and then leave. But who's affected by the call button? Let's think long and hard about that one, guys. I don't know. Maybe the fucker who's on the same camera? Jesus Christ, why am I having to explain this basic concept to you? You're like a toddler, a little stupid drooling baby, a little insignificant worm, rodent, vermin, bug. Sorry. No, I'm not. That's a lie. Anyways, the only threat on this night is Mac himself, and he's pretty damn basic. All he does is meander through your cameras, like holy shit, he's so slow. Eventually, he'll wander into your office, which, pause for a minute. This is not an office. I think we're just stationed in the kitchen? Maybe? I quite literally have no idea where we are right now, because this, to the left, is the drive-thru window. So we have to be in the kitchen, right? Because if so, that's stupid. But whatever. When Mac gets to your office, all you have to do is use the call button to cause him to go back to his stage. Very basic. What's the downside? I'm glad you asked, because of course there's a downside. If you use the call button too many times, an error will begin. To fix it, all you have to do is go to your control panel and reboot it. God, don't you guys miss playing Five Nights at Freddy's 3? What's that? You don't? That's unsurprising because FNAF 3 makes me want to stick my penis in a blender. But believe it or not, that's not the only attack Mac is capable of. The other attack consists of being a fat ass and going through the drive-thru several times each night. As I'm sure you could have guessed, Mac has the chance to instead wander to the drive-thru window, and when he does, all you have to do is open the control panel and literally just tell him to fuck off, and he listens. Surprising, I know, but you know what? I'm not gonna complain, because he listened, and I appreciate that. But after each night, we get to talk about the post-night cutscenes, which aren't really cutscenes because it's just a black screen with people talking. In this game, I have no idea who we play as, but who is important is the Australian man, so get used to hearing his voice a lot. The Australian man's name is Chris. He's the manager of the McDonald's we work at. And in this cutscene, he walks into the office of... I actually don't know who we could be talking to. It's clearly a higher up because Chris asks him for a raise, but I have no idea who this higher up could be. I'm guessing it's the owner of the building, or who knows, fuck, maybe it's the CEO of McDonald's, I don't know. Anyways, Chris walks into his boss's office and asks about a raise. Why do you ask? Well, this is where we get to talk about the most hilarious sequence of words I've ever heard. Chris says his daughter is sick, with either an infection or a disease. He doesn't know what it is, but in his expert McDonald's manager opinion, it looks fatal.
Well, so far my daughter and I are dealing with very little money, mainly affected by taxes and whatnot. She's currently going through some infection or disease. I don't know what it is, but it seems fatal.
I know this is supposed to be like a super serious moment in the story, but I just thought this sentence was so fucking funny. Maybe I'm an asshole. I don't know. Of course, Chris is all pissy that he doesn't get a raise, which, by the way, grow up. You did what you should have done and asked. You didn't end up getting it. That sucks. But you wanna know what you don't do? Throw a fucking temper tantrum and yell at your boss. Because that's just gonna get you fired, moron. I get your kid is probably dying, but you wanna know what'll make your financial situation a lot better? Not having a kid anymore. The boss explains that the reason Chris can't get a raise is because the company recently spent a lot of money on the new animatronics for the restaurant. They saw how well the Mac Tonight commercials performed on TV, so they thought it'd be a good idea to capitalize and buy the animatronics so that the company would make more money. That makes sense. However, because of this, the restaurant would be closed for a week while they did renovations on the building in preparation. This, overall, is a very valid explanation as to why Chris will not be getting a raise as of now. But instead, after only one fucking day of working at the goddamn restaurant, he's already both demanding a raise and throwing a fit after not getting one. Actual child behavior right here. Moving on to night 2, we get another call from our boy Chris. He's all mopey because his stupid kid is gonna die, blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck cares, am I right? He mentioned something about the Hamburglar being found in the vents of the building, which, by the way, I would find hilarious if the Hamburglar wasn't also the most infuriating character in this entire game. Speaking of the Hamburglar, let's talk about what this dickhead does. The Hamburglar, as I'm sure you could have guessed, burgles hamburgers. The Hamburglar, the Hamburglar, as I'm sure you could have guessed, burgles hamburger. The Hamburglar, as I'm sure you could have guessed, burgles hamburgers, and based off of where they found him, is a vent animatronic. Actually, the vent animatronic, as no other characters actually use it directly. We'll talk about that later. The Hamburglar will try to find your vent and crawl inside of it, something I think is very interesting considering this fat motherfucker steals cheeseburgers for a living, something I'm sure his mother is very proud of. Now, here's where I get to talk about how much I hate this piece of shit. He has a few phases before he's fully in your vent. What you're supposed to do is, in the final phase before he enters, blow super hot air using a button in your cameras to scare him away. That in and of itself is super easy. The problem comes from not knowing where he is, which again is super surprising given his profession of choice. Now, in most FNAF games, when you look at the cameras, they slowly pan side to side. They do the same in Mac Tonight's as well. However, in most FNAF games, you can always see the character when they're on the camera, no matter what the position of the camera is. Can you tell where I'm going with this? If not, let me make it very clear for you. When the camera is panned all the way to the right on this vent camera, you literally cannot see the Hamburglar. Why is this a problem? Because the cameras move so goddamn slow that you often won't be able to tell when he's moving because the camera is constantly glued to the right side of the screen. Bro, I wish this camera wouldn't turn 400 billion feet away from that fucking thing. Bro, could you turn the fucking camera towards him so I can see his ass? Luckily for me, I eventually heard a sound cue he makes to make noticing his movements a lot easier. But holy shit, future FNAF game devs, please, for the love of God, don't make this mistake, because this made me want to find a silverback gorilla and have him start digging in me. But regardless, if you can learn the sound cue, the ham bitch boy really shouldn't be too much of an issue, and we can move on to the post-night 2 bullshit cutscene. This cutscene starts with Chris getting on the phone with who I'm assuming to be someone at the hospital that's seeing his daughter, which, by the way, doesn't make sense. In the previous cutscene, Chris told his boss he doesn't have money to even get his kid seen by the doctor, which, by the way, I know in the US you can't legally be denied medical care, but fuck you, it's not disclosed where this game takes place, so eat my balls. Regardless, it is confirmed she has a disease. Still insane that the disease doesn't have a name either, because they've also confirmed that there's nothing they can do and she is in fact going to die. I find it weird that they can both determine that it is fatal when they haven't confirmed what disease it is. Or who knows, maybe Chris is just retarded and can't pronounce words with more than 6 letters in them, as emphasized by him once again getting upset and calling his boss stupid for ordering the new animatronics for his, and I quote, greed of money.
That bastard. Ordering them pieces of junk just for his greed of money?
Moving on to night 3, we're told nothing important by Chris and are introduced to 2 new characters, Grimace and Ronald McDickhead. Let's talk about Grimace first, because Grimace would never hurt a fly. On purpose. Grimace works kind of like a foxy, having multiple stages before attacking you, except I actually just lied because he only has 1 phase before attacking you. When you see him move from his original position, all you need to do is press a button on your camera to make him go back. Are you starting to notice a pattern for this game's mechanics? That's fine. Maybe the main fucking mascot for McDonald's will be better. What does Ronald do? Well, he'll walk around the building, aimlessly probably, attempting to find your office. When he gets there, he'll make a sound cue and stand here. I can see this getting really... Who the fuck is that? What is Ronald McDonald? Oh my fucking ears! Oh my fucking ears! For fuck's sake! What the fuck was that? I think this is like a window to the dining area. Maybe. Again, I have no idea where we are in the building. When he is there... You wanna take a little guess what you have to do to stop him from turning into the gobble monster, lathering your nuts in honey and having a feast? Yeah, that's exactly right. You have to use the exact same call button that you use for Mac, except this time it makes no fucking sense because why the hell would that affect Ronald Donald? That's it. I'm not kidding. We're already at the point where we'll just talk about the next cutscene. For fuck's sake, people actually enjoy this game, and not just because of nostalgia. Whatever. In the night 3 cutscene, Chris goes into his boss's office, tells him that his daughter dying is somehow his fault, and then literally fucking stabs him to death. Slow way the fuck down. Really? That's your reaction to that? Sure, you didn't get the raise, but guess what? Clearly you were able to get her to the hospital because you found out it was fatal. But guess what, dumbass? No amount of money would have made it not fatal. And if it could have made it not fatal, then that just means you waited too long to get to the hospital to get it checked. Now, you might be thinking, oh, he didn't want to go to the hospital because he didn't have the money for it. Usually that would make sense, but I'm gonna say fuck you to that thought process in this situation, because if this guy is willing to kill somebody because his daughter is dying, I don't think anything would have stopped him from going into the hospital to attempt to figure out what's going on with her in a timely manner. This story is such a headache. This story is frustrating, and this story makes my dick hurt. If the plot of this game is trying to make me not like Chris, then I take back my criticism, as it's doing a great job at that. But if it's instead trying to make me side with Chris and understand his way of thinking and say, you know what? Sure, killing someone is bad, but at least you could argue he had a good reason to. Then this game is doing an absolutely horrendous job at doing so. Night 4 time. What does Night 4 introduce? Well, first, I want to take a brief moment to talk about the phone call and about how little sense this story makes. So, the phone guy is very clearly Chris. You can tell by the ear-grating Australian accent. So, I can't figure out the order of events that take place in this game. As we're playing through the nights, it's clear that the animatronics that were being brought have already arrived. The same animatronics that caused Chris's boss to not give him a raise. Cool. We're told in this phone call that the restaurant still has yet to open, which by the way raises a whole different ordeal of questions, like why the fuck are we even here? But whatever, let's forget about that for a moment. Throughout this phone call, it's very clear that Chris is bothered by the fact that the animatronics are moving from their positions at night, and he yells at us to move them back before we leave work. He says that we can't afford to have these animatronics break before the building is open to the public. So pause. Why the fuck does Chris care? Maybe I'm not even asking this question in the right way. So here, let's just pause and let's go over everything we know real quick and pretend that it all makes sense. Chris asks for a raise, gets denied. His daughter is told she's going to die and there's nothing they can do about it. Chris then kills his boss. This is what we know so far from the post-night cutscenes. We also know that Chris thinks the robots are stupid and have a part to play in his kid dying. So then tell me, why the fuck does he care so much about the state of these animatronics when in his mind they have a large part in why his daughter is either dead or dying? This is the big problem for me with this series. When I stop to think about why what's happening is happening, it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. And get this, when we start talking about the second game, it's going to make even less sense. No, I'm not joking. We'll talk about the second game in a bit, but this fact is just making me think that the dev wrote the story as he went. But okay, let's stop talking about the phone call now and move on to the threats this night introduces. Birdie and Mayor McCheese. Let's start with Mayor McCheese because it's literally just Mac tonight with a Fortnite skin on. Literally, he does the same thing. Can enter your office and show up at your drive-thru, is both dealt with in the same ways. Worthless character. With that out of the way, we can talk about the much more interesting character, which for a female bird character in a FNAF game, I surprisingly have no sexual tendencies towards it, because this bird is butt ugly. Birdie is the only other character that interacts with your vent, except unlike Big Boy, she doesn't actually enter it, probably because she's the size of Jupiter. All she likes to do is break your shit, so she must have gotten divorced, am I right, fellas? Anyways, her goal is to break your vent heater. A sound cue will play when she does so, and when she does, all you have to do is use your maintenance panel to fix it. And hey, while we're here talking about the maintenance panel, let's talk about how jank it is, and how it adds literally no challenge to this game whatsoever. The maintenance panel in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 adds a challenge because when something is being repaired, you can't use it, leading to a lot of bullshit timings that artificially make the game more difficult than it technically is. Mac Tonight's aimed to do the same thing, except they forgot the part where fixing something makes it temporarily unusable. While yes, the fixing beeps take a long time to finish, the moment you click the repair button, the problem is solved. So you can go to fix the heater, press the button, and immediately after use the heater to blow away the hungry bitch boy. Isn't that just awesome? The answer is yes, because without this gameplay flaw, this game would probably be impossible. Moving on to the Night 4 post-night cutscene, we hear Chris driving in his car. And it's during this scene my mind was fucking blown, because this story somehow begins to make even less sense. It's here where we learn that up until now, Chris hasn't even been a manager. He was just an employee, and the guy he killed was the manager. Before I continue talking about this, we need to pause and immediately go over another massive flaw in this game's story logic. So, in case you didn't know, managers aren't the ones who give you a fucking raise, you moron! There is quite literally nothing he could have done for you. It's not his decision to make. The way raises typically work is the manager will recommend an employee for a raise. It's then either up to HR, a committee, the owner, or even higher management to decide whether or not to give the raise. This fucking retard killed a guy for no fucking reason whatsoever. And the craziest part, now he's taking his place. And that's why we hear him on the phone calls. He's the fucking manager now. Want to hear some even more mindfuck? He states on the phone call that he's going over to the facility where the animatronics are being stored to go destroy them. If he's destroying them, why the fuck does he care about them so much in the phone call we receive on Night 4? What the actual fuck is going on in this goddamn story? It makes no fucking sense. And guess what? It's still going to make even less sense once we start talking about the second game. So strap in, guys, because if you haven't gone brain dead yet, then you're going to later. Going into night 5, we receive one last phone call from Chris. He thanks us for protecting the animatronics, even though literally in the night previously we got yelled at for letting them move, but fuck it, whatever. At the end of this phone call, something enters the office and ganks his ass.
You should wait. What are you doing?
Oh shit.
Get away from me, you piece of...
Oh shit.
Not totally sure what it is, we're left to finish off the night, which, as I'm sure you could have guessed, adds nothing new, so we can move right on to the post-night cutscene. So, I need you guys to take a deep breath before we dive into this cutscene, because you're going to need to use your head a lot, and honestly, it may implode from stupidity. During this scene, we hear the voice of Chris's manager, so we know that this has to take place before he was killed. He mentions that the animatronics have been very damaged in the facility they were being held in. We know from the last call that Chris was going to destroy them, which is why he was driving. So we know that scene takes place before this one. However, that also means that during that scene, Chris's boss was still alive, which means he went to destroy the animatronics to piss his manager off and then killed him. Now, slow down. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he do something like that if his final plan was to kill him? That wouldn't make any sense. He wouldn't get the chance to be angry about it because he'd be dead right after. I should also mention that his manager mentions needing to check the cameras to see what damaged them. And from a very, very important detail we will learn in the second game, it makes the scene where his boss is killed even more confusing. But I'll talk about that later once we learn this very important detail. For now, let's just move on to night 6. Remember how I said the call we got from Chris on night 5 was the last? Well, guess what, shithead? I lied to you. That's right, never trust YouTubers, especially not FNAF ones. They're either liars or pedophiles. And seeing the types of people I'm up against, I'm really glad I got given the liar trait and not the other one. Anyways, yeah, we still do get a phone call from Chris this night, except this time it's revealed that he's turned into an animatronic. Woo! Spooky, bitch! For some reason, he wants to kill us. I don't know why. He says that he can't have any witnesses, but that brings up way more questions. One, is he implying that we saw him kill his manager? Because I'm pretty sure we didn't. Trying to follow the timeline would show we weren't even working here at that time, so that's not possible. Second, even if we did see it, you're dead and have been turned into an animatronic or something. So it's not like you can be held responsible for your actions anyways. Also, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious Chris got killed by Mac in Night 5's phone call, as Chris is now a new threat in this night that will attack you. He's literally just Mac. He even looks like Mac. He attacks the doors, attacks the drive-thrus. Wahoo! Once you beat Night 6, you'll be thrown into a sort of free roam section, except not really, because it's a scripted scene where you walk up to Mac. He looks at you and the screen goes black, and then we get to talk about the post-night cutscene. This one takes place at who the fuck knows when. Chris is talking to his boss about getting a job watching over the warehouse where the animatronics are stored, the same place he later goes to destroy them. Okay, so we know this takes place before that, but can we pinpoint exactly when this takes place? The answer to that question is yes, and to answer it, we have to take a look at the second game. But before we hop over to that game, I have one more question to ask. What the fuck was the point of the character we played as during the night segments? We quite literally served no purpose. Apparently we were witnesses, but we never actually witnessed anything. At first I thought, maybe Chris is destroying the animatronics and then pretending in the phone calls to us it's something else doing it. But that wouldn't make sense because one, we're not in the facility where they're stored, we're in the McDonald's, and two, Chris killed his manager after he destroyed the robots. And we know that during the night sections his manager is already dead because Chris is the manager at that point. So what the fuck did we even do except just work at fucking McDonald's? I guess we got looked at by Mac at the end, but it seems like we were just utterly useless. Also, we were wearing a yellow glove, which would lead me to believe it was actually in the POV of fucking Ronald. I don't know what the hell's happening right now. But whatever, let's forget about this mess and just hope that Mac Tonight's 2 is better than this one. Spoiler alert, it's a lot worse. Get a refill on snacks and drinks. Let's dive deeper down the shithole. When it comes to Five Nights at Mac Tonight's 2, not only is it worse gameplay-wise, it's also worse story-wise, somehow. Let's start by getting one huge detail I noticed out of the way. On the title screen, you can see a list of credits, and if you look close enough, you can see that one of the people who helped work on this game was, Ivan G, aka the creator of my least favorite FNAF fan game series of all time, Jolly. If you'd like to hear me rant all about that game, you can do so after you finish this video, as I have an entire hour-long review of that game up on this channel. Also, I haven't done this at all in this video, so go subscribe to Dxtr Black, Dxtr Blue, Dxtr Gray, join the Discord server, and go check out the merch store as well. All links in the description. In Mac Tonight's 2, we play as Chris, which would reveal that this game takes place both before the events of the first game and before Chris killed his manager. Loading into the first night, the phone call doesn't tell us a whole lot, basically what we already know. Chris took up the job to watch the warehouse where the animatronics are stored, but of course, we know he's just there to destroy them. Let's talk about our tools. This time around, we have two sets of cameras, one normal set and another set specifically for the vents. The only threat active on night 1 is Mac, who will walk through your cameras to try to get to your office. This time around, there are two entrances, that being two doors. Why? Because fuck you! What I really want to focus on was the biggest dick move I've ever seen a game pull before. Let's take a moment to tunnel vision on the only two cameras that matter in this game, Camera 2 and Camera 4. Both cameras are the cameras right next to your office doors, and through each you can remotely turn on a safety lock to keep the robots out. Each door has its own power supply. The problem? These power supplies drain fast as fuck. So much so that I was noticing on earlier nights that when Mac would appear on camera 4, that by the time he'd leave, I'd be left with a big chunk of power missing, which led me to believe that the remainder of the nights would be very difficult because no shit, he would be attacking more frequently. Something even cooler? Where does Mac go after camera 4? Camera 2. What's in camera 2? Another fucking entrance to the office. Holy shit, we have to waste even more power. Now pause. If you're familiar with this game, I can already tell you're going to the comments to explain to me how badly I'm not understanding how this mechanic works. And shut up. I know that's not exactly how it works. I like to explain based on my experience, and this is how it went. Turns out, this camera state is not Mac about to open the camera 4 door. He actually has two different phases on this camera, attack and no attack. When he's standing like this, away from the door, then you know he's just traveling to camera 2 to attack. He will look like this when it's actually him attacking camera 4's door. So what's the problem? Well, I literally never saw Mac go into his attack camera 4 state until night 3. Excuse me? I don't think that it's my fault for not noticing earlier when my RNG with movements is that dog shit, holy fuck. But whatever. After learning that, I had no problems with Mac, and we're free to move on to the post-night 1 cutscene. Psych! Guess what? There aren't any. We're just jumping right into night 2. Night 2 drops a fucking bombshell on me and blows up all hope of understanding the lore of this game. It's revealed on this night that the phone guy isn't Chris's boss, as he mentions that the manager at a McDonald's had his throat slit, now establishing that Chris had already killed him. This doesn't make any sense, and it pisses me off. And you'll understand why later when we talk about that very important detail I mentioned earlier, so just bear with me a bit longer. For now, let's go over this night's threats. This night introduces this game's Toy Freddy equivalent, the Hamburglar. And no, not because of his game mechanics, but because he's a fat ass. He is the character to introduce the vent mechanics, exactly how he does in the first game, except this time it's somehow even more worthless. Once he enters your vents, he will appear in any of the 4. When he does, all you have to do is seal the vent he is in until he leaves. Each vent has its own power supply, and these two drain very fast. But that doesn't matter because even during this game's most difficult canon night, you will hardly ever be attacked. The phone guy mentions that only one vent can be sealed at a time, but fun fact, that's actually just not fucking true at all because you can seal all of them at the same time if you really wanted to, so that's cool. Night 3 introduces one new threat, but before we can talk about that, we need to talk about the headache that is this night's phone call. During this call, the phone guy tells us that Mac's box was moved and looks like it had been opened. Of course, that makes sense because we watched him walk around the building. All good. Whatever. However, he also mentions the progress the police have made on the murder of Chris's manager. They found out he was a former employee and that he was spotted running out of the building wearing a mask and a McDonald's uniform. Pause, please. My brain can only take so much stupidity at a time. So, what this tells us is that at the time Chris killed his manager, he wasn't working at the McDonald's because they referred to him as a former employee. That doesn't make sense because during the Night 3 cutscene in the first game, when Chris enters his manager's office to kill him, his manager mentions that there's nothing he can do to help. So we know he was working there. Maybe that was a mistake and he wasn't working there, or maybe this is a mistake and they shouldn't have said former employee. But let's just say this game is correct and he was a former employee. Why the fuck was he wearing a McDonald's uniform if he didn't even work there? This story doesn't make any fucking sense and nothing lines up. No, this is not a case of the game being mysterious and, ooh, it's our job as theorist hunters to piece it together. Fuck you. This is just bad writing, like really fucking bad writing. We still haven't even gotten the real bombshell yet, the very important detail I've been talking about throughout this video. But before we can get to it, we have to talk about tonight's threat, Birdie. Birdie did something unique in the last game. What about this one? Nope, she's just a hamburglar. Enters vents, seal them, that's it. Moving on. Night 4 somehow manages to make even less sense than ever before. We're told that Birdie had gotten damaged, like a crowbar was smashed into her face. Okay, so we know that at this point, Chris had already begun breaking the animatronics. Cool. Now, here's the stupid part. We're told that the police are obviously still investigating the murder. They questioned all the current employees about the incident, and the phone guy tells us, no joke, that they put the employees who were suspects through a lie detector. Fuck the fact that lie detectors can be notoriously inaccurate. Let's talk about the fact that they know it's a former employee. Ding, 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 former. So why the fuck are the current employees suspects? That doesn't even make any fucking sense why they would suspect a current employee of being the murderer when they know it was a former employee. Sure, the guy was wearing a uniform, but they've already established that he was a former employee, aka not a fucking employee anymore. Am I overreacting? Does this story actually make perfect sense and I'm just retarded? I don't think it does. Anyways, the threat on this night is Mayor McCheese. He's just Mac. Goes to the door, close it, what the fuck ever. I know you guys are just interested in this story at this point and how retarded it is. Night 5 phone call. Let's go over it. Mayor McCheese was damaged, obviously our doing. We're told that today is our last night, yet for some reason we're told that we can come in tomorrow if we really want to. Why? I literally have no idea. And the phone guy literally offers no good explanation whatsoever. It's clear that at this point the phone guy thinks we're not doing our job well. And to be fair, we really aren't, so that makes sense. Really nothing important in this call, so let's just go over the final threat in this game, Grimace. Grimace, surprisingly, does something different than the other characters. He acts sort of like a phantom balloon bitch from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He will slowly leave his box, and when he does, he'll appear on a camera. If you see him, close the cameras and he'll reset to his box. If you don't do it fast enough, he'll force your cameras to reboot, which will take a while, so like, just close the cameras. Who gives a fuck? Let's just talk about this stupid fucking story and the stupid fucking important detail I've been teasing for the last half hour. During the Night 6 phone call, it's revealed that the phone guy checked the cameras of the warehouse and saw Chris breaking the animatronics, specifically Grimace. He tells us that we need to get out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know, no shit, he's pissed, and rightfully so. But hold up. Did you hear what I just said? He checked the cameras and saw us. Doesn't that sound familiar? Oh yeah, it does. Why, you ask? Well, this little tidbit is that super important detail I've been talking about throughout this video. Towards the end of Mac Tonight 1, during the final cutscene, we hear Chris's manager mentioning that the robots are being damaged and that he needs to check the cameras. This would tell me that this exact moment is what he was talking about then. But here's the crazy part. All of that would add up perfectly fine if it wasn't confirmed that the phone guy in the second game wasn't the fucking manager, because he said the manager was already dead. So who the fuck is this guy? And why did the manager say he needed to check the cameras of the warehouse at the end of the first game? This story literally makes no fucking sense whatsoever. There was no thought put into it. I can't piece any of it together because each piece of the fucking puzzle is from a different goddamn box. What the fuck do you expect from me, game? I finally get confident enough to talk about the stories of the games I play in my videos, and then I'm hit with this fucking bullshit. I've spent hours upon hours trying to figure this shit out to find out it's been completely fucking broken from the start. The gears in my brain are turning so fast, I think the whole engine altogether is gonna fucking explode. Thank God I got that out of my system. But that's all Five Nights with Mac Tonight's has to offer. Yes, by the way, before you say anything, I know that there is a third game, but fuck you. It's confirmed to not be canon, so I don't give a fuck about it. This series was an experience I would be okay with never going through again. It wasn't nearly as soul-sucking as Jolly, however, it was definitely enough to cut several years off my lifespan. From horrific gameplay to the worst story I've ever seen in my life, Mac Tonight's truly doesn't have it all. What Five Nights at Freddy's game do you think is the scariest? Maybe you think Five Nights at Freddy's 3 or FNAF 4 because of their atmosphere, but what if we branch out into fan games? Maybe you think Juniors because of its disgusting and terrifying art style. Maybe you think A Shadow Over Freddy's because of its free roam mechanics. I have recently played a FNAF fan game that I personally feel is the scariest one ever designed, but probably not for the reason you think. Today, we'll be covering Five Nights to Remember, a FNAF fan game where the animatronics stalk you like no other FNAF game does before. Let's waste no time and jump right in. Night 1 starts off strong and gets down to the basics as usual. And the moment I opened up the cameras and saw Fredbear and Spring Bonnie on stage, I already knew that this game was getting a Dxtr White video.
Cool. And management really wants me to help you with your
These look real. These look actually real. What the fuck?
The designs of the characters in this game aren't necessarily anything to write home about. We've seen Fredbear and Spring Bonnie designs 1,000 times before. But the way they're used in this game, in combination with poses and lighting, are honestly some of the creepiest pieces of art I've ever seen. They almost look real. It's almost like they took a picture of two actual animatronics and thrown them into the game, and I love it. But the creepy and realistic poses don't end there. Every single camera frame with these guys just feels uncomfortable to look at in a good way.
Oh, I don't know how much I like that. No, I don't like that at all, actually. That's fucking creepy. I'm not gonna lie, usually FNAF games don't creep me out, but that is fucking creepy as shit.
You'll notice as you play that the characters in this game move pretty quickly, which is something I actually enjoy. Most of the time in FNAF games, the first 2 nights are very uneventful, and in some instances, the characters never even make it to your office by the time the night ends. Once Spring Bonnie made it to my office, I knew 100% I couldn't ignore a White video on this game. Take a look for yourself. Oh my fucking God. Play the fucking tape and back up.
He didn't get sent back. Fucking.
Go the fuck away! Fucking yuck. He was busting it down. Did you see that? He was shaking his cock and shit. I saw him. I saw you do that, bro. You whipped it out. It was dangling all over my fucking desk and shit. It slapped a straw in my drink, bro. The sheer feeling of fear I felt in this moment is something I've never felt before playing a FNAF game. Fredbear and Spring Bonnie stalk you throughout this game, taking peeks into your office to check if you're distracted. If you look closely, you'll actually be able to see them before they peek in, hiding in the safety of the darkness. Flashing your light at them makes them hide around a corner, but they don't give up there. They'll wait for a moment, and eventually peer back in to check on you.
and they will never leave until they can get the jump on you. The moment you aren't locked in on what they're doing, the moment you check the cameras for too long, the moment you turn away, they jump into your office and attack. Now I have to take a break from being dramatic to talk about how this game actually plays, and why the rabbit on your screen right now is currently shaking its dick in your face. Thankfully, this game doesn't use a power system, something I'm noticing a lot more recent FNAF games have been turning away from, which I actually really like because power systems make me want to stick my penis in a badger hole. However, there still is an important resource in the game that is limited: your tape player. When an animatronic is geeking out in your office, you'll have to quickly lift up your tape player and play the restaurant music. This will trick the animatronic into going back on stage to perform. The tape player only has a track that's so long, so you can't just let it play out throughout the whole night. You'll also notice that the rewind button on the tape player has been completely removed. What a nice touch, guys. Thanks. Fredbear works much in the same way as Spring Bonnie, except instead of attacking from your hall, he attacks from the curtains in front of you. You'll be able to see him quietly open them to look in at you. Once again, some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game. Get the fuck out! Bro, you can see him real time stepping in. That's so fucked. Stop, bro! Fuck, dude, I see him standing there. As of night 1, there's only one other threat to deal with. HIM, also known as Cake Bear. I'm not sure what the HIM stands for, by the way, and the wiki doesn't tell me. Cake Bear acts as this game's marionette, having a music box for you to keep track of on camera too. I usually hate music boxes, but this one honestly isn't too bad, and I actually never once died to Cake Bear throughout my entire playthrough, which you could watch on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Rather than having to wind the music box like in FNAF 2, instead all you have to do is click it once, and it'll start winding by itself. It's a small change, but a change we all needed to have in our lives. The music box goes down pretty slowly, so you really shouldn't have any problems with it as long as you check the cameras every now and again. Night 2 is actually when Fredbear becomes active, but since I already explained him, I'm going to take this time to talk about one of my favorite things in this game: skipping phone calls. That may sound stupid to you, but if you play FNAF games, this is something that will make you cream in your pants when you hear it. Unlike most FNAF games, where you play out the night while the phone call is happening, in Five Nights to Remember, the animatronics and music box actually don't become active until the phone call is complete, giving you the freedom to just relax and listen to the phone call without getting anally bombarded by freaky-out robots. Which also means if you die on a night and restart and skip the phone call, rather than having to wait in silence for the animatronics to become active, when skipping the phone call, they actually will just immediately start. Again, this is something so small, but holy shit, it makes me happy. The Radiance team are some of the most clever people on the face of the earth. I would make out with every one of you. Hit my line. Something else I should mention, after completing each night, you'll get to play a basic catching minigame, where you need to catch good objects and avoid purple objects. If you get a good score, you'll be rewarded with an upgrade to your flashlight, which will cause animatronics at your doors to be stunned for longer when used. A FNAF game with upgrades. This is so fucking cool. Night 3 brings on what is probably this game's biggest threat, Vision Foxy. But before I cover him, I want to cover the other character added in this night, Vision Chica. Vision Chica works exactly the same as Phantom Chica does in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. She has a chance to appear on any camera, and you can't look at her for too long. If you do, she'll disable your camera for a short amount of time, which will leave you vulnerable to Cake Bear and Vision Foxy, who we'll cover now. Throughout the night, you'll be able to hear Foxy humming. When you hear him doing this, he will appear on either camera 8 or camera 1, aka the two cameras that lead directly to your office. You'll have to quickly figure out which camera he's on, and when you find him, you'll see him sprinting down the hallway. You will then need to pull down the cameras faster than I pull down my pants when I see Toy Chica, and hold your flashlight down on the doorway he's running towards. You'll be able to see him peer in at you, which is just so fucking cool and creepy, and if you keep the light held on him long enough, he will eventually go away. While this mechanic isn't by itself difficult, I'm sure you could guess that in combination with the other characters, Foxy is probably going to be your main run killer throughout this game. Something really great to note about Foxy, however, if Bonnie or Fredbear are at one of your doors, you'll know which camera Foxy will attack at, because he won't be able to come to a door that's already occupied. So keeping track of where everyone is and stalling them as long as possible can actually be used to your advantage. Night 4 is when this game really starts to ramp up in difficulty, and is also where you get to hear me complain. Yay! The part you've all been waiting for! Wouldn't be a Dexter White video if I didn't lose my goddamn mind, now would it? Night 4 introduces Vision Freddy and Vision Bonnie, the two characters that make me want to rip a baby owl into 40 pieces. Let's start with the most infuriating of the two, Vision Freddy. Vision Freddy has a random chance to appear in either one of your two doorways. He himself will never attack, but he will absolutely fuck up your tempo while you're trying to play. My strategy tended to be wind the music box, flash both doorways, and repeat. However, you're not allowed to flash Freddy. If you do, he will disable your flashlight in that doorway, which will obviously lead to your death. Oh shit, I was supposed to flash him. Oh yeah, okay, I see. I get it. I gotta be really fucking careful. I can't just grossly flash my lights. I also want to mention that this doesn't make even a lick of sense at all. I have one flashlight. How the hell did he disable it only on one side of my office? I can't even wrap my mind around that concept, but whatever. Vision Freddy will lead you to have all sorts of problems during your playthrough. Not only at this point will you have grown accustomed to constantly flashing your doorways without thinking, you've most certainly grown accustomed to flashing your doorways when you see something. And to now have something punish you for doing so is absolutely brutal. Now let's switch gears like Luffy over to Vision Bonnie. I said Freddy is worse than this, but that in no way means Bonnie isn't worse than a car accident. Bonnie has a chance to appear in the computer monitor on your desk at any time. Usually, the most inconvenient fucking time possible. When you see Bonnie on your screen, you will quickly have to find him on one of your cameras and stare at him. This is a mechanic in FNAF games I cannot fucking stand. I'm not totally sure why I hate it so much, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's because of stupid ass fucking geeked up Sheriff Slithers from Graveyard Shift at Freddy's. That goofy ass snake has destroyed my will to live. If you don't find Bonnie fast enough, I'm sure you could guess what happens. Your ass is on the menu at Golden Corral and Bonnie is hopping up and down in line like a fat ass waiting to chomp down on your muff. Before I dive into Night 5, I should quickly explain what's been going on throughout the phone calls up until this point. As the nights have gone on, the phone guy has been telling us about how the company has been wanting to switch to spring lock animatronics. Oh boy, we all know how this turns out. On one of the earlier nights, we actually see that Fredbear and Spring Bonnie are tossed into the back room and no longer start on stage, and that the new Springlock animatronics can be seen on one of the cameras instead. Fun fact, these Springlocks never attack you. I jeebed in my pants when I saw them for the first time because I thought I was about to get bent over backwards and fucked in front of all of the animatronics by them. Well, on Night 4, we're told that someone will be testing the Springlock costumes in the morning for the first time. And on Night 5, you'll notice we have access to a brand spanking new camera, Camera 9. On this camera, we can see the very Springlock costume, with the corpse of one of the workers still inside. We're told on this night by the phone guy that he was there when it happened, and that they followed the protocol perfectly, and this still happened. In this game, no, this corpse is not William Afton, just some random employee, but damn. This is probably one of the coolest moments I've seen come out of a FNAF game, and it would have never been this cool without the phone guy's amazing deliveries on his lines throughout the game. You can listen to each of them during my full playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. But how does Night 5 play? Well, it's an everything night, something I've noticed becoming more common in newer FNAF games. I've noticed that a lot of FNAF games nowadays have a Night 5 that introduces a boss character to really show off the climax of their game with one final fight. I think this is pretty cool, but I'm also a little nervous that this concept will become stale quickly, but I guess only time will tell. The Victim is a new animatronic active in this night, freely attacking your office whenever he feels like it. Unlike Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, you will not be able to stall him at your door, because he doesn't give a fuck about that door. He thinks that door's a bitch. I know, he told me. Deal with him in the same way you deal with Fredbear and Spring Bonnie by using the tape player. I said this night was an everything night, and when I use the term everything night, I mean one character taking on the role of every character you've seen so far. Golden Freddy does exactly this, or this game just calls him the Yellow Bear, taking the role of every other animatronic we've seen up until this point. The extra addition of the Victim really drives up the difficulty of this night, The pressure is high the whole time and you will barely have any room to breathe. But with all of the cool shit we've seen, we need to take a step back. And I need you to all take a breath with me, because what I'm about to talk about next will make you shit yourself. So just please pause the video, get a glass of water, and get ready for me to talk about the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Night 6 is a remake of an old FNAF game called One Night to Remember. And oh my god, is it dumb. Let's talk about it. One Night to Remember features an interesting cast of characters, to say the least, with characters we all know and love, like Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Plushtrap, the original, Corpse, Stan, Mini Stans, Ben. Who the fuck is Ben? I'll go over this part quickly for the sake of your sanity. In your office, you have a music button. It's pretty much just the tape player from the main game, except you can't choose when to turn it off. It kinda just turns off whenever. If you see Fredbear at your door, you'll have to play the music to make him go away. If you see Spring Bonnie at your door, you'll have to play the music to make him go away. If you see the Corpse at your door, you'll have to play the music to make him go away. If you see Stan on your ceiling, can you guess what you need to do? That's exactly right. You have to play the music to make him go away. That's the end of that running joke, thankfully. Mini stands don't directly kill you. Instead, if you sit in your office for too long without pulling up your camera, they'll make Stan move faster. Plushtrap will occasionally run past your window. If he does, quickly pull up your camera, and I guess he fucking dies for some reason. Ben is a G. If he shows up in your office, you have to play peekaboo with him and cover your eyes until he goes away. Ben has no concept of object permanence. He's 2. Finally, the original. He slowly moves around your cameras to your office. If he gets to your office, you die no matter what. Even if you play the music, which is bullshit. If you stare him down on the cameras, it will stall him, making him approach your office much slower. Do that for 6 hours and congrats, you've beaten this game's weird-ass Night 6. Hope you're proud of yourself because we've still got Custom Night to talk about. Usually I don't talk about Custom Night, but this Custom Night has some new characters, and one of them I bet you fucking freaks will goon over. Thanks Radiance team for making me put goon bait on my screen. All 4 new characters are unlockable by completing Custom Night challenges. If you complete the 6th night of the game, you'll unlock Stan. Side note, I know that Night 6 is not a Custom Night challenge, hop off my pecker dog. Stan is pretty simple. Starting in your office, he will slowly try to drop down onto your head like any spider would do. Use the bug spray on your desk to keep him away. If you don't, Dunyan rings for you, bro. Also, side note, why would we use bug spray on a spider? Spider's not an insect. It's an arachnid. You know what? That's not important. If you complete the Imaginary Night challenge, you'll unlock Ben. Ben will randomly appear in your office and try to take a picture of you to post on his OnlyFans. When he does, you must quickly look left and right to prevent him from getting a good angle. And trust me, Ben loves his angles.
You take a picture with your ass out and your back bent in with your pussy barely peeking through from a low angle with your face in it, winking with your tongue out and your feet in it, and your arches exposed and your toes clenched and your torso at 3/4 rotation with your side boob and your nipples just out of sight with a choker on and your panties around your waist with the middle pulled to the side.
Beating the Nightmare Challenge will unlock Bite, a character that will only move on the cameras if your tape is playing music, giving you reason to stall characters in the hall for as long as you can. If he gets to your office, it's 100% game over and there's nothing you can do about it. Finally, I have to talk about the edging material. If you complete the old school challenge, you will unlock Bunny. Bunny sits on your desk and seduces you. All you need to do to get rid of her is boop her nose. While she is seducing you, all of the other animatronics get jealous of you and become disgustingly more aggressive. Alright, editor, get her off the fucking screen now! I don't need an army of gooners jeebing all over their iPads, bro! Thank you. And with that, that's all Five Nights to Remember has to offer. This is honestly probably the scariest FNAF fan game I've ever played. Throughout the entirety of it, I felt in danger. I felt like me using the light to push them away from the door was actually a last-ditch effort to save myself. It's a feeling of dread that no other game has ever been able to give me, and I think that's pretty neat. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me, or am I just a quivering little bitch? Let me know in the comments.
In my Fredbear's Fright video, I asked you guys what the coolest thing you've ever seen come out of a FNAF game was. My favorite comment was this one by TF Fan. They said the ending cutscene of Night 3 from Mary's Arcade, and I have to agree. God damn, that scene was cool, and definitely scared and surprised me the first time I saw it. You can actually watch my review of that game right here on Dxtr White. The question of this video is, who is your favorite animatronic from any official or fan FNAF game, and why? I also need to take time to thank you guys so much for the recent support on this channel. As I'm writing this video probably won't come out for a few more weeks, but as I'm writing this, I just released my Fredbear's Fright video, and it got over 30,000 views in one day, which is huge for us. We also gained 1,000 subscribers in the same day, which is just crazy, and I can't thank you guys enough. With the question of the video being asked, I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!